where it's unlikely for them to make a push. This is a team that's known for aggression throughout the global region. When you end up seeing them on the global teams, on the global stage, they end up just absolutely not being scared. Sometimes it hurts them, but sometimes it benefits them in a huge way, as we have been able to see in the past. Now, some of these teams, I was kind of mentioning them earlier, intense game, being able to just put up a lights out performance when it came down to the PMSL Brazil. Loops Esports as well. This is a team that has now been together for quite some time. Last year, it seems like they were a bit of on a rookie season for at least some of the players. Hopefully, their managers have been able to work down with them in case for some reason they don't start off hot here. They'll be able to go back to the drawing board and be able to react quickly.
Yeah, I've always been a big fan of Loops. I'm hoping they find success this time around. I really do. They're a special team that even if they have 2 members left out of the 4, they find some type of way to make an impact in the late game and potentially finish top 3. Brazil's scary, not only because, of course, of the qualified teams, but also Alpha 7, right? Alpha 7, the top dogs who are looking to once again claim their throne for gold. Last season in fall, they started off a bit slow, but they finished off at the top. So this time around, I'm going to try and stop my alarm bells from ringing a little bit too early. Alpha 7, they're going to be just fine. A lot of eyes, though, on Team Liquid. More on that discussion in just a bit. But I want to talk about North America, because North America is a region, again, that still has their back against the wall. They've got a lot to prove, and North America truly does need to improve if they want to end up at the top. Now, Nigma, when we talk about North America, truly, honestly, I mean, I've seen a big improvement throughout the Titan series. I've seen a big improvement even from the spring season going into the fall season last year for PMSL.
Yeah.
You think it's going to be even better now in 2025, PMSL America Spring?
Listen, we can't ignore the elephant in the room. Last year, I don't think we had a single NA team on that first page after the second or third week. So this sort of tournament format, we've shortened it a little bit. I'm expecting at least hopefully Wolves or one of our other partnered NA teams to be able to finish in this top bracket. But these teams, man, I want to see signs of life early. It's not like we have 4 weeks of competition like before. You got to start off strong, and you got to be able to do it now.
You have to, man. And Seven's smiling. I want to hear why he's smiling in just a little bit. I think I know why, but we had a chance to hear from some of our North American teams and players. Let's hear what they had to say.
This journey wasn't easy. Every game, every scrim, every late night brought us closer to the stage.
Мы прошли через отборочный этап, сражались с лучшими и превзошли сами себя, чтобы заслужить свое место здесь.
Poveștile noastre sunt diferite. Unii dintre noi am început în orașe mici, alții în orașe mari, iar unii chiar au venit de la jumătatea lumii.
Somos más que una región, somos una mezcla de culturas, orígenes y sueños, unidos por nuestra pasión, PUBG Mobile.
Hey, bro, let me know if you can hear me fine.
We've sacrificed, we've struggled, but together, we've grown stronger, turning our differences into our greatest strength.
This competition won't be easy. We know we're up against some of the best teams from across the Americas.
Cada partida será teste da nossa habilidade, do nosso trabalho em equipe e da nossa determinação.
We respect our opponents. We are ready to face every challenge head-on.
We know what's at stake. We're not just playing for ourselves, but everyone who believes in us.
This is our chance to prove that North America can stand tall among giants. We're ready for the challenge.
Winning here means more than just skill. It demands resilience, teamwork, and the ability to adapt under intense pressure.
This is our moment. The world is watching, and we're ready to show what North America is made of.
Together we are NA. Together we rise. Welcome to PMSL America's 2025 Spring.
If that video doesn't get you pumped up, I don't know what will. North America spreading the inspiration, showing they're ready, and I fully believe in their ability to go all the way. You've got a lot of great players, obviously, competing throughout North America. Wancho, 24K from the X-Force side of thing. Casper's on Shoot to Survive, who was lights out during the Titans series. Ayuya, come on, that's a name you can't forget from the VIP esports side of things. Seven, you were smiling beforehand. Now let's finally find out what that smile was all about.
I just wanted to see the GOAT on this video, all right? The NA GOAT, none other than Coops. Before the day started, Boy and I were kind of having a conversation here with Enigma. Is he considered the NA GOAT? And honestly, when I went back and decided to look at all his accolades, I think he is. Last time this man was participating during any America's event, he ended up winning MVP after MVP after finals MVP. And guess what? He went to other regions and still won some MVP. So if there was ever a chance for an NA team to actually make it to PMWC as we are on the road to the Esports World Cup, I think Wolves has my vote.
Hey, Wolves definitely has to be one of the strongest ones. Talking Baton, Doran, Wancho, and Coops, they were incredibly strong. Obviously playing during the Titan series because we allowed our partner teams to play for a bit of the money. Well, they made the most of it. They earned their money, and they're going to be earning it throughout the 6 maps starting today. Now, this time it's a little bit different. We got Sandhawk and Erangel 3 times in a row. We'll finish off the night with match 5 and 6 with Miramar. It's going to be fun to see how this rotation ends up playing out. Normally, Sandhawk is map 4. Normally, it's only played once. Well, that will stay the same. But for the Erangel Miramar, it's going to be fun and not a lot of time to kind of readjust your strategy going from Erangel to Erangel to Erangel. So it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a bloodbath, and I am all here for it. So let us know in chat. What do you think about the new format? What do you think about the map rotation and obviously the teams you'll be watching today? And final question, I knew I threw a lot at you. Let me know your favorite region. What's the region that's going to take it all this time around? And if you think it's Brazil, okay, say Brazil, take the easy way out. But let's get spicy out there in the chat. Let's say LATAM, let's say NA and Y, because I believe the collective mind is smarter than the minds on the desk. Going to be a fun day, boys. And Seven, you did say it. 3 spots for EWC to be earned. That's where the money is. That's where the money is to be gained. And we'll talk on that in just a second, man. Sandhawk, we moved into it to start off our 2025 PMSL America spring season. This is the first opportunity to strike while the iron is hot, to get the jitters out of the way and show you are going to be the dominant team to take this entire thing. Who's it going to be? Well, obviously the players. They're the only ones who can answer that question for themselves. And by the way, chat, stay tuned throughout these fly-throughs. We've got some fun things that we'll be giving out, aka some codes that you might want to pay attention to after map 1. Just a hint, you don't have to take it. It is what it is. Let's get it started. 7, where are we dropping?
We are going to be dropping none other in Boot Camp Paradise Resort. I'm interested to see, Enigma, if we're going to end up having any hot drops, any clashes here on the first day of PMSL America's 2025 Spring Split, because that's going to be able to tell a lot. And honestly, I'm seeing some teams really close there in Boot Camp. I see Export. I'm not able to see just yet who's the other team, though.
Yeah, it's looking maybe a little bit of stubborn gameplay. These players definitely had some matches to scrim, see where these other squads drop, and it looks like it's going to be none other than Influence Rage taking it up against X-Force. No knocks hit on either squad here, but the interesting part about this fight is they both opted to land in the Lobster Building, this main sort of section of boot camp. Usually you see one of these squads land on the outside and take a fair 4v4, but the scary part about this, and Taylor, I know you're a big fan of it, is going to be these early game fights. With it being Sandhawk, there's always that third party coming in hot. It's never going to be this 4v4 in boot camp.
Well, and that's the thing about it, those third parties, right? Finishing fights when it comes to BRs, finishing them quickly is important and imperative, because the longer the fights extend, the more of an opportunity for other teams who are hungry to get eliminations, who are hungry to third party, start moving in, right? Now, sometimes it's unavoidable. The fights just will naturally extend, and it doesn't make sense to get aggressive. But I stand by the points. You know, finishing off your fights early is important, but granted, seems like these are going to be the only 2 teams here anyways, Influence Rage and X-Force. But this excites me, it does, not only because Influence Rage is on our screen, a talented team throughout PMSL Americas, but also X-Force. A chance to start off strong. And, of course, I mentioned 24K, Fate, Talim, right? You've got some talented members. This is an opportunity for North America to show their chops early on in the first Blood Fight 7.
And I'm enjoying what Vatlik is doing here, trying to back off a little bit, be more of an anchor, be more of a getting a different angle on this fight right here. And now for Exports, it becomes a question of, do you actually want to end up taking this fight? And I'm pretty sure if they do end up getting knocked, they're going to go for it. But Aleem ends up getting knocked out. They're trying to make a rotation back towards where Vatlik is at. This is going to be a big situation here. 24K not being able to fully back up, slowing Influence Rage down there. Interested to see what these two teams are going to be doing, if they are going to continue with this hot drops later on different days. But for right now, Export not wanting to fully commit to this engagement, even though they have the higher hand in regards to numbers.
Yeah, they're hoping Influence Rage makes the first move, and it seems like they have, at least with the damage onto Aleem, but it wasn't enough to take him down, and X-Force, they're happy for that. Having this rooftop control from Lorenzen is going to be big. He's going to be able to oversight, be that UAV, if you will, for the side of Influence Rage onto the X-Force fight. He can also jump down potentially and make some moves. More importantly, 24K really can't go anywhere. And if he does decide to make it up, the question is, does he know where Lorenzen is at?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it's going to be a matter of if Fate or Valent can spot this player on the roof. You don't want to be spreading out too much early on. You already have the one-man player advantage from 24K. I believe he was able to thirst Diego with that AK early on. And this is the scary thing about these early game hot drops. Obviously, we want to be seeing those sort of 5.56 weapons, a shotgun as your secondary, be the loadout you rock. But when you have these early game fights, you don't always get the loadout you want. And fortunately for X-Force, they do get that early initiative knock and thirst, but they got to play it slow. So it actually looks like Influence Rage is going to be backing up. X-Force potentially just kind of relaxing here. The zone shift is towards that southern side, right around that Pine End section. So both these teams, even though they're in the zone, with it being stage 1, you're definitely going to have to move early to get yourself closer to that center point of the match.
Something that these teams need to keep an eye on as well is that All Glory Gaming was able to take care of United for Gaming, and they have moved up now towards the mountain, close to boot camp. So third party might be on the way. Enigma, as you were mentioning earlier, a team that I've been trying to keep a close eye on here, none other than 9C Globan. Colgo, the MVP of the last season for PMSL America's Boss Play. He's going to be able to clutch it up right there, slowing down SVG. And this is why. This is the it factor of why I want to see how this team can perform if the synergy is there between the teammates, because we know they definitely not lacking skill.
Yeah, I mean, that's two teams already gone, by the way, Enigma. Now three teams, I should say. Vios, Savage, United for Gaming already wiped off. PMSL 2025 is starting off hot.
Yeah, and it's, I think, just a matter of, because we're playing Sandhawk as the first match. This is the warm-up. Last year we saw it all about being that sort of X factor, that mental reset, but when you have it at the very beginning of the tournament days, this is more about you honestly getting warmed up and getting prepared to take these early game engagements. So all these squads that are getting those eliminations early on, they're going to be going into that Erangel next match really feeling themselves in these early game engagements, and I think that was a struggle, especially for NA teams last year, was those early few zones, stage 1 through 3, of not being comfortable taking some of these 4v4 fights. So I'm expecting X-Force, hopefully off of, even though it's just one elimination, to kind of stand true and be able to work through the rest of the matches, but only time will tell, of course. A lot of these teams looking to make some rotations early on, Shoot to Survive being one of them, looking for that sort of hot in camp onto ROW, but seems like they were spotted out. A lot of these teams, this is kind of the interesting part of Sandhawk, right, Seven? We've seen it so much over the last few years of...
Your party.
I'm Craig Newmark. I'm the guy who started some...
We open up content to like test it out how it looks.
Yeah, I mean, Beg doesn't do it. I don't think Eric does it.
Drop point, your sort of compound, even the POI.
Well, yeah, but
you land at,
they have
always
fucking
going to be
overlays.
kind of staring at you.
No, I just said they don't do it.
Safe to make any of these.
They don't have anything. They just
Eric does.
Exactly, and I'm actually
I know
waiting
she
in regards
didn't
to
used
seeing
to.
what
Just Berg does it
really
because
bad.
even though they didn't end up flushing out that team that landed with them Influence Rage, they were able to at least get that one elimination. But this is the main worry for me. Maybe taking a little bit too long there with the stalemate that they had in boot camp, and now having to worry about how All Glory Gaming is going to be holding them down. More than likely, they're going to be waiting for the next circle before they end up making a move. But showing maturity here
doesn't do it, and
not willing to fully commit, even though they had a numbers advantage.
I mean, I don't think it looks that bad. I've done it. I mean, all my videos on my channel are recorded in the normal.
Little things like that can definitely benefit him
Simon
in the
Strides
long
is
run.
just filled out.
So I'm looking at Fran overlooking
It's not like it's
Loops.
stretched
You got the
horizontally.
meanwhile,
It's
the rest of the
stretched
AG roster
diagonally,
overlooking
so
X-Force to
it's
keep
not
the two teams
disproportionate.
in check. My only concern is they bite off a bit more than they can chew, and I really don't want
might be
Fran
different
from AGG to get caught off guard by Loops.
I know you're talking about
everybody's
it.
kind of settled down after all. They are center zone.
All right, team, what's
so
the
at this
plan? We
point,
got a
getting
team
that
holding us at the
intel,
top of the hill.
getting
We're
the
gonna rotate
information
out,
of everyone
like-
in front of you is truly important. And so nobody needs to get too aggressive. Nobody needs to make a desperate move. Now we do look at the map.
A7 chilling and
We have
touch.
several teams who are going to be on the northern side, forced to move.
They're not
going to
move from boot camp until next zone shift.
Jeep
And
rotation,
by then,
rolls of war.
Like,
they were
Wolves
showing
and-
what Shoot the
Wolves
Survive
and
on
X-Force
that
are gonna
west
fight.
to the bridge, but
Wait, no, never
Wolves
mind.
Esports, they dropped
Maybe?
that Paradise. They instantly rotated.
Wolves have to rotate.
X-Force should
He needs to make a desperate move. Now we do
rotate
look
here.
at the map.
A7 chilling and touch.
Several teams who are going to be on
But
the
they're not
northern
going
side,
to.
forced to move in. This is going to be one of them.
The Jeep rotation, rolls of war.
Like,
they were
Wolves
dealing
and-
with Shoot the
Wolves
Survive
and
on
X-Force.
that. You're never making that cross. We've
I
seen
don't
it
see them
so many
rotating
times.
to
The
that.
team just getting
I would-
absolutely
yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah,
kind of like
Going
those
up the
they
mountain,
like each
but-
other.
Oh man, Baton, he's not even stopping on the mountain. He's going straight
need you to hit
forward with
gold,
Wancha right above him, and
Ah,
Wancha, he's actually
deal.
forcing the 1v1.
What do you
trying
mean?
to
I
play it
mean,
early
okay,
on with the
so-
S12, but
So
luckily
it
for him,
goes
he's come up,
play
given
3
the
games
work
silver,
together, don't
and
need
then
to
play
rush
10
it
games
just
and then
yet,
gold.
but with it being
Yeah,
in the
once
blue
you hit
zone,
gold is when
luckily
you
it's
Why do you want the
made.
last
Quick and
one?
easy for him.
Oh wait, is that?
Joe getting a little bit
I thought
antsy.
you
Gold is
had
the
to-
very last.
He
No,
was- he
it's
was
3
getting
games
damage
silver,
there
10
from the
games gold.
zone, but as well, he was getting shot by
No,
somebody
there's-
else. I wonder if maybe it was somebody there from Row. Once
If you look at the Turkish thing again, it's 3 games, silver, 10 games gold. That's how that's the order it goes in.
You gotta play 3 games, alright. Play those.
They don't have
Just
to
FF
really
those
push
3 games,
out.
bro.
They have to
Oh,
play,
I
they can
can't,
actually
bro.
play
Watch
their
on
time
stream,
and hope
man.
that
You don't even-
somebody else is going to end up
Can't even get mine, bro. I already promised
AGG.
swag.
Meanwhile,
Like,
though, we do have a fight here. It's going to be Alpha
Brr.
7. Alpha 7 being able to clutch out right there. VIP is
Oh, no, it really
gone.
depends.
And Alpha 7, luckily for them, Carrillo, even though he gets
But I mean,
knocked, he's going to
3
get picked
games
up
silver
again.
at the same time, so you
Yeah,
can
it's
play
funny. You're
silver
setting up
anyways.
the fight. The fight was already over. Alpha 7 eliminates
just 3
VIP
games in
that
total.
quickly. For me, 7. It feels like Alpha 7 most likely is going to take this series, this PMSL America spring season, very seriously. They want to dominate their competition. The reason why is because winning this, obviously top 3, you go to EWC. And what does that mean? Not only big money once again, but also reclaiming your throne as the kings of EWC, which Alpha 7 currently is.
That is correct. Getting a chance to defend that championship that they were able to get last year. Now, the biggest thing for Alpha 7, as we're going to be switching over to a different fight, I do want to get a chance to talk about them a little bit more, but let's see what happens here with Shoot to Survive. And none other than IG. I mean, I was mentioning how aggressive they have been. They had all the angles here, and it wasn't even a fair fight. S2, they didn't even have a fighting chance. But going back to Alpha 7, they do have Squash now in their squad. This player has been with them for a long time. He wasn't able to play for, I think, at least was 2 years, but now we are here in a situation where he can actually be with this squad. There was rumors that Colega, the player that is in 9C Global, was going to end up going to Alpha 7. That never ended up happening. So for Squash, a player that's able to frag out, to that be added to the Alpha 7, which is known for fragging out, a lot of people currently have them as favorites.
So picking up Squash is an interesting one. You said that he's been on the roster in the past. How
Yep,
well
A7
will he
wins
do
this
here? And I
match.
think it'd be just fine. After all, this is
GG's.
kind of your honeymoon phase when it
And
comes
then
to
Wolf's
PMSL
gonna
Americas
rotate
for
in
Squash. He's
before
back on the
X-Force does,
roster,
so then
and I think
Wolf's
he's
is
going to
gonna
be
kill
playing all out to show
X-Force
why
when
he
they come
belongs
outside of boot camp.
on the best roster in the world. And obviously, PMSL Americas. Things slow down just a little bit as we transition into stage
Inco
3.
dies by
And we do
9Z.
notice, or at least I notice, Alpha 7 is going to be
IG
dead
dies
center.
by
Loops, AGG, X-Force
If
all
9Z
still going to be
rotates into AGG,
kind of hanging
X-Force
around the
has a
same
chance of
area
third
as they
party that.
typically have, and
If
X-Force
they
does
do.
have to
But then they're
rotate
just
in.
gonna
For
get third
AGG,
party by
they've
the
been
other team
playing
behind
this
them.
gatekeeper
That's in
role.
the,
They are going to be on the
warehouse.
outskirts. Luckily for them, they do have Fred. I mentioned Fred a bit earlier, who was keeping Loops in check. He's going to be inside the zone. And for the rest of his teammates, they've got a clear and easy transition over to where Fred is at, and then they can continue to maybe attack Loops. I'm expecting going into stage 4 when they have to eventually continue to move forward. But AGG got a team wipe early on. After that, they've just been playing the scouting role. They're playing smart. They're working on their positioning. Enigma, I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, unfortunately, though, it's just if you're saying AGG has to fight into Loops later on, that's really a tall order to ask because Loops, in my eyes, has the better positioning. if the zone was a shift away or even on top of them. AGG, they have to come down the mountain. They got to work towards your compound. And unfortunately for them, they've kind of just been a little bit too stagnant in my eyes. Seeing that circle shift, they could have maybe taken either a vehicle if they had it or made that early rotation with Fran already being so far into the zone compared to the rest of his members. I'm surprised they didn't want to play it too active, but a lot of these teams, maybe AGG felt they could get a few more eliminations on that sort of mountain camp, that sort of rotation from these other squads. But it seems like a lot of the teams, including Inco Gaming, X-Force, Influence Raids, they all opted just to rotate away from that boot camp hillside. But intense game, this is going to be all the way up on that northern side. We saw that Rose of War player potentially getting that solo shots going down, but opting not to. And with it being stage 3, I know that damage from the zone isn't going to be too high onto some of these squads, but the sad part for intense game is it's not going to be just 1, not even 2, but 3 squads forced onto this northern edge. And unfortunately for them, this northern mountaintop, there's really not a lot of room to play.
Hello. Can you hear me or not?
Ooh, X-Force. By the way, I was able to see there on the horizon too. X-Force was able to get out of boot camp unscathed. They didn't end up losing anybody, so that's good to see. Influence Rage ends up losing another player here as Wolves is currently holding them down. Wolves with all their players alive through eliminations. Now Influence Rage trying to return what happened earlier into the match to X-Force, seeing if they can knock somebody, but oh my goodness, Alim is just waiting there for Lorazin as he's able to spot him. And you were mentioning an intense game there, Enigma. Now they're finding themselves in an interesting situation here, as it's not just one team, it's almost more than likely going to be 3 teams that they're going to have to worry about as we're looking at the circle. Alpha 7 is just hitting perfect, by the way.
Center zone, but Law, he knows Silence is there, but Silence doesn't know about the 1v1. Now he's forced into it. Both players having the S12K. The push comes through, and he actually just, oh my goodness, just one taps him around the rock. Big win for intense game, putting their total to 5 eliminations. Silence having 4 of them, but they still got to deal with Wolves. The gate keep coming through. His teammates actually rotated all the way to that eastern edge to fight Wolves. Unfortunately, Silence, he needed to land some shots more on the Wancho, give a little bit of pressure off the rest of the squad, but a good nade saves the fight for him. Baton now trying to keep the rest of these Silence having 4 of them.
Trying to get a bit of an off angle, and Wolves will continue to at least distance themselves. My only concern is X-Force might pincer them. So you got Wolves right in the middle of X-Force. You've got intense game on one side. Wolves might be in a lot of trouble, and they've got to pick and choose what team do we want to push into, because they have no choice. But Fate, they're taking the choice for themselves. That's going to be the first drop onto Wancho, as Wolves might be being put in the blender, and they will be. Only one more player remains. It's going to be Coops. He's all by himself. Question, damage control? Can we even go into damage control? Can he separate himself from X-Force in a 10 game and get into Quarry? I don't think so. I think this is going to be all she wrote for the Wolves roster. Now, we transition over to X-Force, who now has a decision. Do we want to hunt down Coops? Okay, maybe that's the easy job. But do we want to go ahead and get into zone or even try and track down intense game? Well, for X-Force, I think they're going to prioritize getting inside at the next stage. Coops will eventually die off as he's going to. Valak should be able to mow him down. So good job. And a bad spot 7 for Wolves. Something unintended. They just weren't expecting X-Force to roll up whenever they were fighting intense game.
That's just usually what ends up happening here. But they'll cut off Wolves yet. They might not end up making it to the circle, but if you ever wanted to have a player that's able to clutch you up some extra points, the reason why he was able to get MVP multiple times is because he's able to get those extra points, able to get those extra eliminations. He's already been able to get 1 elimination for his team after his teammates got eliminated. Now he's trying to find another one, and he's going to be able to find it. Now he's up to 3. You know what? Make it 4. Why don't you? Even from the circle, it doesn't matter. He's just trying to clutch up as many points as possible. Meanwhile, we look at the map, and Alpha 7 is currently doing a wonderful 2-2 split. They have cover as well if for some reason somebody decides to push him, and I'm just going to call it right here unless something insane happens. Enigma, I don't know if you agree with me with the way Alpha 7 is currently sitting. I think more than likely this might be their match.
Yeah, and I mean, if you have 2 crate drops as well right after you wipe a squad, it's really a good feeling for that level 3 department. Unfortunately, for X-Force. Intense Gaming was able to make that rotation into Quarry. That was on that free compound on the eastern side of zone. But X-Force, they took so long focusing Coops that they didn't even realize the compound was completely free. They could have had all 4 players up in one of the prime real estate spots in the zone, but now they got to struggle worrying how they're going to be able to get in. They're having to throw the smokes. Loops as well might even just crash the compound before them, realizing if it's free for the taking. But a lot of these teams, that southern edge, that western edge as well, we're seeing it right now. 9Z, Globe, and Cold Goat. This is the guy you were talking about, Seven, being the GOAT last year for MVP. Now trying to take his shots to Team Liquid, but the interesting part about it is we're fighting on the mountaintop. We know there's going to be more than 1 or 2 squads scoping us, and really now it's just a struggle of who's able to hit their shots while moving into the circle here. And Inco Gaming looks like they're going to be the first team to question 9Z Globin.
That's right, and these teams are looking to engage here. They're trying to see if they can find an opening while hoping that nobody else peeks up over this mountain and stops them from making a push. There you go, 9C Globin gonna hop in this deal and just hope for the best. Can they make it? Cole goes almost out. There you go. He's gonna decide to jump out before the vehicle explodes and try to see if he can maybe start healing up. He needs to be careful though. There's too many teams here, and this is the story with Sandhawk, right? This is usually what we're used to, the absolute madness and somebody being able to take care of it and take advantage of it, as Milos is gonna find Cardozo flanking from Team Liquid. He's not going to be able to spot him, but Rages might end up having an angle here. Colgo doing his work and doing what he does best against Loops. Meanwhile, Team Liquid getting picked apart here by 9C Globin.
Yeah, you got Loops, you got 9Z, you also have Team Liquid all in this area, and the winner gets the dead side of the map once it's locked in. And for Team Liquid, well, they might be in a bit of trouble. One more player remains. It's Chief here on your screen. He's surrounded by Loops members. He's also got a couple members, I believe, from Inco, who's going to be rolling up. They're hungry. They want maybe the third party, too. You also notice Alpha 7's going to be dead center. They're going to come into play after all of this fighting. All these engagements have settled down. They're in no rush. They're already at 5 eliminations. They're chilling. And for Chief, he's on fire. And I don't know if he's going to be able to get out of this one alive. Granted, I said that about Coops, but Seven, you were spot on, brother. Coops ended up picking up a couple on the way out. Chief could do the same.
That's right, he could, but it's going to be a little bit harder because now they have the whole Inco squad just going to be looking at them. Earlier, it was a different situation because you had Export just trying to make it to the circle. Chief, more than likely, going to try to slow down. He's going to have a lot of utilities to work here, especially with how many just loot boxes he has near him. Whether it's his teams, whether it's somebody else, it doesn't matter if you're able to put that utility to good work. Inco Gaming, though, this is a team that has been together, at least some of the players have been together for quite some time. They added Bruno's or Bruno as he's usually known, from last year. He was in another team that made it to PMGC and just made a full run, and was shocking a lot of people, including myself. And on top of that, they added McGrellin. Remember, McGrellin was one of the players that Alpha 7 won PMWC 2024 with. So we'll see what this team's going to be able to do. So far, they've been able to clutch up a top 6. And right now, Alpha 7 is doing exactly what they need to do here. Just play your zone, play that compound. And if you are able to spot somebody, if you're able to make somebody's life a little bit more difficult, definitely go for it.
Yeah, it looks like as well. I think it was Loops took out X-Force, but now they're having to take the fight into intense game, and they were the team that was holding that quarry compound on that far eastern side, Taylor, and oh my goodness, I mean, what's the point of even trying to drive in if a nade's just going to land on top of you? Alpha 7 adding 2 to their playbook. Now, this is the scary part, Taylor. This circle shift, we see it in the top right, dead on Alpha 7. Inco Gaming, I'm not sure if they have too much of that mountaintop to work with, or else Alpha 7, they might be able to just sit pretty and watch these two teams fight on the outside.
Yeah, I think that's what they're happy with. You know, Seven said it best. You know, Alpha 7, they're going to be a nuisance. Pepper shots, take players down if they can, if they get in their line of sight. But for the most part, Alpha 7, they don't want to move. They don't have to move. They've got dead center zone. Everybody theoretically has to push into them. Alpha 7 doesn't have to push out to engage the other rosters. So just like Korea's going to do. Just any shots, any peppers he can do. Now, Inco, they are going to be a full force. Intense Game will be down a member. Alpha 7 still a 4-man unit. For Inco, they're looking to crash in onto the compound, but they don't get very far. They get mowed down not only from Intense Game, but also from Alpha 7. Vitali has no choice but to just stop and heal inside the car. Bruno, he's going to fall into the pop of blue. Inco might be on the way out very shortly, but a top 3 is a solid start. Maybe even a top 2, but it depends, man. Alpha 7 Intense Game, they're still up. They're still looking strong. Inco on the way out. Alpha 7 looking to start off the 2025 PMSL America Spring season with a big W.
And this is exactly what they needed to do there. Find their opening to push out of those buildings and start making them hurt. Start making them question where they were going to be going. And you can see Carrillo there with the beautiful nade. Inco is gone. It's going to come down to intense game in Alpha 7. Alpha 7 more than likely looking to clutch it up. They're making this look easy as it's going to be going just one player left. Adrian not going to be able to survive, especially when you have 4 players of Alpha 7 Esports going straight towards you, and this is why this team is one of the favorite ones to win it all and to go back to PMWC this year and win that too. With Squash, with Revo, with Mafioso and Carrillo, this lineup is looking scary.
Oh, looking scary indeed. And it's nice to see them start off that well. Again, going back to fall season, they started off very sloppy, and they even said it themselves. Look, we started off in a way that we weren't happy with. This time around, lessons learned. They're firing all cylinders. And maybe even adding Squash to the roster gave them some new added energy, and that honeymoon phase is ringing true. Alpha 7, strong. Game number 1. Looking unstoppable, and 9 eliminations, by the way. Truly impressive. And Enigma Revo with 4 eliminations himself. Remember, he was our elimination leader multiple times. I mean, you're saying 4 times 7. The elimination leader, without question. Enigma, Revo on fire. Alpha 7, business as usual. I don't know if I'm going to call it too early, but can they even be stopped, brother?
I mean, if you keep 4 players up, the first map being Sandhawk, and you just absolutely slaughter the lobby, it really just kind of puts the wind in the sails right for this team. And I really enjoy Seven saying that it was 4 top, essentially MVPs for that squad, being able to get all those elimination counts, because we're over this placement stuff. Okay, go for the eliminations, go for those squad wipes, and it wasn't like Alpha 7 didn't have to fight a team early on. They won that 4v4 immediately in that stage 1 circle. It wasn't even close for that squad, right? I believe only taking 1 knock, but for that team, man, it's nice seeing that compared to last year going into this PMSL Americas, they're able to start off strong as a squad. And with it being these sort of 9-10 days of competition we get to see from these teams compared to those 4 weeks before, it's really a nice, strong sign for a team, especially like Alpha 7, to be coming in with the win.
Yeah, big win indeed, but intense game. 7, a big surprise, coming out 2nd place. Total of 10 eliminations, even outmatching the pacing of Elims from Alpha 7. Intense game, looking like a serious threat.
And the thing for intense game, too, is that they had a completely different than what Alpha 7 was able to do, right? Even Enigma was able to call in during the match. Okay, they're going to have to do a rotation in. How many teams are in your way? 3? Okay, that's going to be hard. But they were able to make the right call, Enigma, and this is what I was hoping that they would end up doing. They would end up backing away, even if they ended up getting at least one of their players eliminated, sacrifice that, and then realize what's going on, make the quick adjustment, and go for the other rotation. I feel like that's what it's going to come down, especially during this PMSL, making those quick adjustments throughout the match. And the beautiful thing, too, I know a lot of people sometimes hate the map rotations that we're going to be jumping into, which is Erangel. But if a team absolutely sucks, in one way to put it, okay, in the first match, guess what? They're going to be able to go back into that second match and just readjust it. And that's when we're able to find out if a team has what it takes to make it to the top 3 when we go to grand finals.
That's it. Do they have what it takes? Wolves was a team that was a serious threat on the battlefield. In fact, picking up one of our first eliminations, but they end up running into a sticky situation. Good news is, though, before the day started, we had Sarpatch, who was on the scene to talk to Coops before the matches started.
W sound. We love being able to hear nothing.
Long time, now you're back. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm happy to be back, and I feel like we can win this PMSL.
I feel that too. And you brought company with you as well. You play with your friend in Europe. You're back with him. Who did he bring you back? Because he played here last year, or did you bring him back?
He brought me back. Juancho brought me back too. He said, "Come play with me." I said, "Okay, sure." So, yeah, he texted me, and I said, "Okay, let's go."
It's really hard saying no to Juancho, man. That guy, he says, "Come on, please," and you just gotta go for it. So feeling good, feeling confident. You have a strong team, I feel.
Yes, we feel very confident, and hopefully we can win like 2 or 3 games today.
2 or 3 games. Let's go. 2 or 3 games.
Welcome back, everyone, to the 2025 PMSL America Spring Season. Game 1 has concluded, and the usual suspects, Alpha 7, end up on top with 9 eliminations and a big win. They start off incredibly strong, as everybody was expecting who will be the team to challenge them. Well, I'm thinking intense game. After all, second place, 10 eliminations. They're looking pretty good as far as I'm concerned. 5 more games to go. We've got back-to-back-to-back Erangels about to be underway. I'm Taylor Reflections Noble, of course, joined by 7 and Enigma. Game 1 has concluded. Again, Alpha 7 up there in first. We talked about intense game. Let's talk about some other rosters, though, who ended up playing quite well. And one of them, 7, is Loops, who were zone blessed quite a bit, but also had opposition at multiple times, most importantly, AGG, who was trying to gatekeep, or at least trying to keep them in their line of sights for the longest time. They were kind of the scouts of the game. They started off with 4 eliminations. From that point, they then focused their attention on X-Force, but then ultimately Loops. But Loops held their ground, and they finish up in 4th place with 9 eliminations, a good result.
That's right. I mean, 9 eliminations with all the mayhem that you were just talking about, too. What else do you want to see from this team? With the thing, too, for some of these teams, we kind of heard it, too, during the cast, too, from myself, from you, Reflections, and also from Enigma, saying there's just so much going on. There's so many teams fighting each other. There's teams outside of the circle, as we saw Coops at one point trying to just be the last person alive for his team, trying to clutch out some extra elims for his squad, for Wolf Esports, and he was able to do just that. Now, from some of the other squads that I want to get a chance to talk about, too, that I kind of highlighted during the cast there, too, X-Force, I was really, even though it might not seem like a lot, and even though they maybe didn't end up getting a lot of points, I was really impressed with them just deciding to back off from the hot drop. That's something that not even a lot of global teams do. A lot of global teams just decide to go for it. They let it get into their head, and they get a little bit ego, pop their chest out, trying to start peacocking, and it doesn't end up working out. For this team, guess what? They decided to back off. It didn't end up working out ultimately, but at least they didn't end up losing right away, and they were able to clutch up some points.
Yeah, and let's dive into that a bit more, Enigma. In North America, typically a very aggressive roster. That's why we always highlighted in previous PMSL seasons Sandhawk. Sandhawk, a great map for North America, because it's a map where you can get aggressive, you can third party, you can weasel your way out of situations, you can even play in blue zone quite a bit and make your way into zone and finish off strong. It's a rare map. It's an interesting map without question. But X-Force is a team that has been known to be aggressive in the past. This time it gets Influence Rage off the start. They don't push. They actually back up. They live to fight another day. They finish off in 6th place with 3 eliminations. Some people would view that as timidness. Enigma, I view that as an evolution.
Yeah, and for the most part, I think it was a really big hit for them to be losing Remix coming into the event. That was one of their main fraggers from the Titan series. It was him and 24K essentially being the other big dogs in the lobby next to Coops when we saw that sort of kill elimination sort of leaderboard from the last tournament. And unfortunately, for X-Force, I like that sort of disengage going into it, but them, All Glory Gaming, even Wolves Esports, as soon as that rotation came through in that stage 4, stage 5 circle shift, they all kind of stood still. They waited for the blue zone to be on them, and ultimately, it really spelled demise for all 3 of those squads. And 7, I know you had talked about it just now with Intense Gaming making that rotation. They sacrifice one player, but the rest of the squad makes it, and it allows them to get that top 2 placement. So these teams, there's a lot of good motions we're seeing early on, especially from the NA boys and stuff like that, but we got to see more of it throughout the game. It can't be just that one squad wipe, because at the end of it all, if you're only getting 1 or 2 placement points, one squad wipe, you're only getting 5 or 6 total points on the match.
And for X-Force, you kind of hate that the last player from Wolves was Coops, right? Because that's usually their main fragger. Out of everybody that could have been left alive there, I'm pretty sure as soon as they saw that elimination, Coops is like, well, we're not getting in the zone, boys.
I was so impressed when you called that out, and I was like, ain't no way, bro. Coops is going down.
Yeah.
He didn't, though. I mean, he really didn't put up a great fight, and 6 eliminations, a large majority of those elims going to the way of Coops. But that's what you would expect, right, from a player of his caliber and his lineage and his history. North America's, I don't think did that bad, really. I think North America's looking pretty good, and a large reason for that is because of the evolution throughout the Titan series, their evolution as a region, and I really do think we're on the up and up whenever it comes to North America as a whole. Speaking of North America, we have Sarpatch, who had a chance to sit down with X-Force's Fate. Let's hear what he had to say.
All right, here with Fate now before the start of the day. Fate, third time here on Americas.
What's up, Ghosty?
How important is experience? Like, are you like really calm now? Like yeah, I've been here already. It's nothing. Or you still get them butterflies? Tell me about that.
Yeah, honestly,
Microphone is on. You should probably
it's pretty
hear it.
important. I'm pretty calm. I'm relaxed. It's really just basically, what do they say? Another day at the office, basically. So, yeah, I'm more so relaxed. I see people that I already know, say hi to them, and then, going to the venue, I already know the drill. Everything with your phones, figure that out, the headphones, and just basically get your sensitivity, your controls, boom, and then just get ready for game day, basically.
Is there somebody you were looking forward to say hi again or new?
Not particularly, but it's always nice seeing the people that do come up to you, or like if I come up to you, I give some examples, like the Team Liquid guys, Ayala, Mythic, they're always pretty chill. Nenebete is always nice to see as well. And, my past teammates as well, Casper's here again, so it's nice seeing them for sure.
But it's nice seeing you too, man.
Thank you.
Best of luck. Let's take it home. How many victories today? Give it a bet.
My IGL said 2 wins. So.
Done. 2 wins.
2 wins, yeah.
Right, 2 wins now. Let's go.
All right, there's Fate from X-Force. One of the best-looking guys out there, competitor-wise, rocking the bling, and the bling is earned because, well, he's just a great player, X-Force. A great team, Fate, a wonderful player. He's feeling more confident than ever, and he always seems so calm on camera. It doesn't matter what's happening around him. He just seems like he's in control, and that's why I'm a big fan of Fate and X-Force, and I think they're going to do just fine. But speaking of just fine, let's now move to the opposite end of the spectrum to, well, just skirting by. That's Team Liquid, a team that has been having struggles. Spring season last year, they looked great. They were charging forward, trying to beat Alpha 7. They ultimately didn't, they did, I believe, and then Alpha 7 ended up winning the next one in fall, just been on a downward spiral. And I haven't been happy with it. They're not looking like the team that you would expect them to be. They have a slow playing style. They were just as slow during that Sandhawk map. When they finally got active, they ended up getting wiped out. Let's talk Team Liquid 7 and how they're looking.
Yeah, for Team Liquid, besides just what we saw here on Sandhawk from them, which we'll get a chance to break down. You know what? Let's jump into it, too. Painan, I felt like they stayed a little bit too long there in Painan. They were hoping that the circle was going to end up going their way, and when it didn't end up going their way, they caught themselves between Loops Esports and 9C Global, and then they had to pick and choose which fight to take, and then ultimately, Sandhawk happens. Third partying happens, and the zone happens as well. As Hot Jukes would say, Papa Blue does end up start taking that damage, and it makes it even more complicated for you. For Team Liquid, for me, for this season, I'm hoping that we start seeing a little bit of adjustments, not just throughout certain days, throughout matches. And for everybody watching, don't forget that we have those Amazon gift cards on your bottom left of your screen. Go type in that code. I don't know how much it's going to be, but you better beat me. Actually, we can't participate on this, right?
No, we can't. I know you got fast fingers, brother. I know you're out there trying to type it in, but I want you to stop now, delete it, because that's meant for our viewers. Hey, chat, like you said, we've got some Amazon gift cards. It was up there for just a second. You got to be quick with it, and if you earned it, let us know in chat. What are you buying with it? We had this whole conversation throughout Titan Series. Let's have it once again. Are you guys buying a rice maker? That's what I just bought recently. And I tell you what, it's revolutionary. I didn't realize they could be so fancy and even talk to you. Rice makers have come a long way since I was born in the 1700s. Let's hop into map number 2. We're going into Erangel, and this time around, by the way, we're going to have Erangel play 3 times in a row as we're dropping in. Enigma, what does that mean for our competition? Because normally Erangel is played 3 times, but it's spread out from map 1 to map 3, and then map 6 is where we finish up. But this time you've got it 3 times in a row. Do you think that makes things a bit tricky? Does it even matter to the competitors? What do you think?
I think it's a back and forth, that split decision making. If you're really able to kind of determine if you can reset and go into that next map playing the same exact potential zone. We've seen it time and time again with the Titan series and stuff like that. Not sure who's controlling the zones this match, but for Erangels and stuff like that, especially, we see a lot of those repetitive zones, a lot of those same spots get taken by squads. So if you're in one of these matches in Erangel and you get eliminated early just for that next game to be the same circle shift, you're really going to want to play your cards differently. And we're going to be seeing it now. That first circle shift is going to be centered on Pachinki loops. Looks like they're doing a bit of a slip on Pachinki. And most people actually don't know this, Taylor, but Pachinki has horrible vehicle spawns. You're having to actually drop completely outside of the POI. You need to make sure that you're able to make the rotation because it's the best spot on the map. No one can deny it with you being so close to that southern island and you being dead center of the map. But these teams right now, with it being the first match, I'm surprised we didn't see too many hot drops going to this air and go like we saw in the Sandhawk last match. Dead center on the side of the POI. Looks like they're doing a bit.
They sacrificed 2 people for the garage. I think S2S dies by INF. I think this is a Wolf's game or a Loop's game.
But you're right, Enigma. I mean, there are no hot drops. You've got some teams that are relatively close together, but things are going to be a little bit quiet. But we do have a lot of teams, though, Seven, who are going to be on the northern portion of the map who do have to rotate in. And you've got a couple of rosters, such as Royals of War, Influence Rage, who could potentially be playing Gatekeeper to Alpha 7 VIP. Speaking of which, VIP might be making a trip to Alpha 7 relatively shortly.
That would be one of the ballsiest play. I mean, if you ever want to do that play now would be it, especially starting off on the first day. Send a message over there. I'm pretty sure Alpha 7 would not enjoy that. And I'm all here for it. You know what? Let's throw some toxicity here on PMSL Americas. It usually makes it for even spicier stuff. More entertainment for us, the viewers, and everybody else except for the players, which I'm completely fine with. But VIP Esports trying to find their way here. I think they're just going to be going to Sarki, getting some more loot. And going off with what you were saying earlier, Nigma, in regards to loops and Pachinki, the vehicle spawns, I completely agree with you. And I think that's why a lot of the teams that do end up, at least for that I've seen so far, that end up landing Pachinki, they do a bit of a split, get some more vehicles outside of Pachinki, and then actually go back and figure out what they're going to be doing in regards to where the zone is going to be rotating if you are positioned in Pachinki.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we're going to be taking it just south of them now with Wolves Esports. That's a squad that they land in this farm split. It's an old split that Nova, I believe, actually first created way back in the day. Being able to take that sort of drop spot just outside gives you a lot of vehicles, not a lot of loot to work with, but with the circle shift, Wolves, I expect, will hold some sort of split play, but as we see on our screen, Team Liquid starting to move towards them, and I'd really be worried if I was Wolves Esports. Holding a spread at some of these prime compound spots leaves you exposed if you don't get that first initial knock, and it looks like Juancho might actually even be the first player questioned from Wolves Esports side, but looks like they're going to drive by, and this is one of those scary moments, right, Taylor, when it comes to these sort of compound plays. Are you going to be able to keep these sort of big dog squads back that are comfortable taking these fights? But Baton, he making it look easy out here.
Cardozo, come on, caught off guard. Team Liquid struggles from last season to map 1 on Sanhok today to now map 2. Losing a player is tough. And for Team Liquid, they tried. They really did. They sent 3 of their players as quickly as they could to try and assist Cardozo, but they couldn't get there in time. And now they're at a bit of a standstill, holding down a building opposite of that of Wolves. But shout out to Wolves for capitalizing on that mistake. You know, that is, I think, again, they looked great in map 1-7. But they got caught in between the Rock and a hard place, the Rock being X-Force and the other one, I believe, being AGG, if I'm not mistaken. But then they were finished off. I think they could have had a deep finish on Sandhawk map 1 if it wasn't for that situation. But I'm impressed with them. They're not playing overly aggressive. They're playing poised. Their pacing is great. More importantly, they're capitalizing on mistakes, even from the greats such as Team Liquid.
And I think that's something that we're going to be seeing a lot of just Brazilian teams in general. Even when at the beginning of the day, you tell me why everybody expects Brazil to stop. Just because of aggressiveness, a lot of Brazilian teams are trying to evolve from that. They want to be able to have more of a switch in regards to aggression. And also, something I do want to point out there with Wolves. I don't know if Juancho meant to do this or not, but when he ended up shooting while he was inside the building, it kind of forced that Team Liquid player to maybe look to the left, get a little bit distracted, and think about going for it or keeping on their rotation, and it allowed the extra players there from Wolves to just end up eliminating him. So I'm not sure if he meant to do that, Juancho, but he ended up working out.
Snacks my goat.
As long as you get the elimination point, 7, okay? It doesn't matter if it's you shooting, doesn't matter if your teammate gets them, and that's kind of the role that Juancho adopted, right? We talked about it in Titan series, Taylor, with him kind of playing that more supportive role for the squad. If you have Baton and Coops both being those sort of fragging players on your squad, it's really hard for you to kind of shine yourself, right?
Yeah.
You want to be able to put your teammates in those spots of success. And last match, obviously, it was just Coops at the end, and some nice shots from zone. But this time around, they're not having to work against blue zone yet. They're able to play their sort of circle, their spot in this zone. And we've been seeing a lot of it actually right now. Loops as well as Savage Esports making, honestly, the same rotation as Team Liquid just did, trying to get into that sort of western farm POI area, allowing Wolves to potentially pick up even a few more eliminations on rotation with it being this first circle shift. But you got to be able to hit your shots. Luckily, Baton was able to do that, but can they continue to do it is going to be my real question for him.
Loops wanted to see what that hilltop was all about. Well, they found out quickly. It was Royals of War's hilltop. They'll stay up there. Loops will back away into Pochinki and stay there basically rent-free. A lot of vehicles still on the map to be expected. Everyone trying to find themselves as close to center zone as they can be, which is getting pretty active now, 7. I mean, you've got Loops currently dead center. You got Influence Rage moving in. Alpha 7 there. Royals of War obviously just on the outskirts looking in, but I am focusing more so on Pochinki because that's where Influence Rage, Alpha 7, and Loop seem to all be congregating.
That's right. Absolutely nobody wants to end up playing edge of the circle. It seems like with how many teams are currently there towards the center. You mentioned it. You have Influence, you have Loops, you have Alpha 7 as well. Not only that, you have some of the other teams like Savage Esports that are going to be rotating around. Not even able to spot them. And, okay, with that switch, that's going to make a little bit of adjustments here. And you can see Alpha 7 being one of those teams that, you know what, they're just going to keep on driving and seeing where they can place themselves. They play that Sandhawk class perfectly, but I do kind of want to take that with a grain of salt because it is Sandhawk after all. I want to see what they can do here in Erangel.
Oh, man. They're about to be doing something to this 9Z player. It's going to be, I believe, Reyes hitting the slam, Colgo trying to give the support, but Alpha 7, they did this last match. They're fine taking the 4v4 at the center compound, picking up the one freebie. And I really got to question 9Z's split. They had this whole southern edge to work with. They opted to take this compound play, and they might actually even lose Colgo if Alpha 7's quick enough. Creo taking the shots down onto the vehicle. Unfortunately, you have to blow it up. You can't shoot him out of that car just yet, but Alpha 7, they find themselves with that early rotation, that full squad movement together, getting a pristine spot in the circle shift. And now the rest of those teams, Taylor, on that eastern edge, all having to take the same rotations towards Alpha 7.
That's right. All have to move their way in. That's Royals of War, Team Liquid, Wolves. The list goes quite literally on and on. It's quite polar opposite of what we witnessed from Map 1 on Sandhawk, where there were so many teams, I think 3-4 teams eliminated going into Stage 2, during Stage 2, going into Stage 3. This time around, we've had a couple of players lose their lives. Obviously, from Team Liquid, they've lost 2. We saw Cardoza and Mythic very, very early on. But everybody else relatively healthy still, just firing some pop shots. Stay away from me, or at least respect me and where I'm currently at. I do like the way that this Royals of War Loops fight is developing, however. They drove past each other on this hilltop. They kind of, felt each other out at least a little bit earlier on, and they're still hanging around each other, and they want it. They want this engagement. They want this fight, and at least for the most part, they just want to continue to keep their presence known, 7.
Yeah, debating whether they actually want to take that fight or not, as Vios is going to be close by as well. By the way, I'm actually impressed with that Alpha 7 play. Even though it was just that one player from 9C, I'm impressed that this team is just deciding to focus more and more in center of the circle because they're just so known in the past as well for being able to just play that edge and being one of the masters at being able to play edge of the circle too. So for now, for them, first 2 matches here of PMSL Americas 2025, for them to shift their focus and worry more about the center, I wonder how some of the other teams are going to be able to readjust to that. And I think that's what 9C Globan was kind of caught down with their pants down with just one player there on that rotation.
And now we see it's going to be Shoot to Survive, one of our NA squads, making this sort of Western rotation right into VIP Esports. Unfortunately, another NA team, NA on NA violence. Klaus being down to just one shot, trying to find a little bit of that edge play in the circle. We do see it. It does shift all the way down south. Nowhere close to the sort of western edge. Unfortunately, Bob as well getting knocked on rotation in the field. And this is the scary part about being on this Gatka side of the map. It's a straight field for roughly 200-300 meters. If you're not making the right rotations, if you're questioning yourselves like it looks like Shoot to Survive is, you're going to get caught out from these players that are able to shoot their weapons. It's not like Titan Series where some of those squads maybe can't be shooting their guns straight a lot of the time at range. This is the best of the best from our western regions. And I really enjoyed, Seven, that you brought in that Alpha 7 conversation of them playing center, Team Liquid trying to do the same, but that's Team Liquid's forte, and we see it on that battle tracker on the right. They're down to 2 players. They only have 5 total points, I believe, so far. So them being a squad that needs points, not having the room to really have these sort of low placement games, it's not something you want to see, but unfortunately for Inco Gaming, one of our NA squads, they're going to be actually the first team eliminated from Loops Esports in Pachinki. I'm surprised, honestly, that they actually even took this fight in Pachinki, but nonetheless, 4 elimination points for Loops. Taylor, something you do enjoy seeing from the squad.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt, indeed, Loops, very successful game 1. They were a talking point. They always are anyways when we're discussing Loops throughout PMSL, but even more so now, going from their consistency in game 1 over towards game 2, that's going to be a couple of eliminations coming their way. When we do look at the standings, I'm highly expecting them to be up in the upper echelon, and I expect them to stay there throughout the days of PMSL spring season. They do have to rotate into zone. They've got a little bit of time. They're taking their time in Pochinki, but Royals of War most likely going to be their next opponents, but that's no surprise. Even going back in time, Royals of War Loops, they've kind of been dancing back and forth between each other for a notable amount of time. Shoot to Survive, very curious on what this long rotation means. Are they trying to get onto the backside of Loops? Well, I'll keep my eye out for that. We might see them pop up on screen in just a bit, and there's going to be Klaus driving his team forward, going straight into Royals of War and Loops, who look to be right next to each other. I think we might be seeing a fight brewing up.
Yeah, I'm with you. I have no idea what they're trying to do here, but Royals of War with Loops, I mean, we've been talking about this fight happening, and it's finally going to end up happening as Royals of War being able to strike first. They're going to end up getting one knock, trying to convert it into that elimination. This split might end up working in their favor. They just got to make sure they don't end up losing any players, and they take care of this fight quickly, though, because of how many other teams now are near them. It would be prone to a third party in here if this takes a little bit too long. Royals of War now having to back up, and there you go. As I was talking about it, it ends up happening. S2S, none other than Shoot to Survive, being able to start their party in this squads in this fight, as Loops is now turning the tables around and getting into the action there against Row 19.
Yeah, but they're having to eat the blue zone 7. They got to make the rotation in. Unfortunately for Royals of War, that actually might be working against them. They held a split early on to catch one player off, but they couldn't clean up the fight anymore. And now we're going to be shifting to the far western side. All Glory Gaming rotating directly behind Intense Game, but it's just Fran here. Can he get more than one? Gets one knock, 2 actually, but the S12K trying to go for the thirst, but he's only got the M4. Tense Gaming winning the fight on top, not losing a single player, and that was a big 1v1 for Intense Game to win. Having just 2 players to knock his 4th teammate as well, driving up. Intense Game, they secure themselves a spot in the sort of circle, but they got to make the rotation in, Taylor. And with 12 seconds left, those revives, 10 seconds each, it's going to take a long time.
Well, the good news is they stay alive, and they have an opportunity to fight yet another day. Vios Gaming, first time seeing them on screen, and well, it's going to be a great opportunity to showcase what they're about. They'll take down Royals of War, and just like that, 3 teams have fallen in quick succession. Inco, All Glory Gaming, Royals of War. As the zone gets closer and closer, smaller and smaller, the teams become more and more competitive. For Intense Game, they will have to rotate in. I do wonder if this is an opportunity for United for Gaming to take them out. Meanwhile, Alpha 7 onto Loops. Loops has been in between teams, most importantly, Royals of War. But with them gone and out of the way, they now find themselves replaced from Royals of War to Alpha 7. And Alpha 7 manages to get a couple of eliminations for themselves, therefore controlling the northern side of the map, and you can see the respect that they command. As soon as they push into Loops, Loops is forced to run away. But a new, at least opponent has come into the mix, and again, that's going to be Vios Gaming throwing their hat in the ring against Revo and the rest of the Alpha 7 roster, who has no choice but to reposition.
And that's usually why I love new teams popping up, because they don't care about your legacy. They don't care about what you have done in the past. When it comes to PUBG Mobile Esports, they're going to take the action to you, and they are currently in a position where they actually have to make sure they fend them off. Alpha 7 did end up doing a north rotation there. You guys mentioned it ended up working out in regards to them getting eliminations on Loops. Meanwhile, we're going to be switching over to X-Force, which is getting pepper from far away. Fate trying to see if he can at least revive 24K. That's not a player that you want to lose, especially at this stage of the match. And you can see them just starting to readjust for that. They do have 3 eliminations to their name. On top of that, only 3 players alive. But I believe 24K is going to end up getting picked up. I'm intrigued to see what Alpha 7 is going to end up doing, what Vios Gaming is going to end up doing, as well as Shoot to Survive. All those teams there that are towards the north, more than likely, they're going to end up getting pushed out by the zone whenever the next circle closes in.
Yeah, the circle shift, right as this connects, I believe we are going to start seeing people take big damage from Papa Blue. Alpha 7 being the team that has to rotate in now. It's crazy as well that Alpha 7 was able to make that rotation up the mountaintop from the compound and backstab both those teams like Loops and Vios Gaming on that sort of eastern edge of the circle shift, and now being able to kind of weasel their way through 2 squads on the northern side. It really kind of just speaks volumes as a team of, you said they were playing that center spot. They got forced onto the edge off of the circle rotations, and they said, okay, if teams start making movements on the map, we're going to start moving ourselves. And now with that circle shift, goes all the way up to that northwestern side. As Shoot to Survive, I believe it's just going to allow Alpha 7 to control that eastern side. Compounds on that far northern side aren't something to really be playing too early on, but a lot of teams now, 7, full sending into the center. This is not what you want to see, and especially on a Team Liquid.
That's right. Yeah, you definitely don't want to see it on Team Liquid unless you got the numbers going your way, and it ends up working out for them. Team Liquid ends up getting eliminated their 13th place with not many eliminations. By the way, for Alpha 7, they kind of leapfrog Vios Gaming in a way with what we were able to see in the circle. Now, once they end up closing up the other players, they might be able to just leapfrog them and gatekeep them in some kind of way. But for this team, oh my goodness, Wolves Esports, you're currently having a lot to work with, and you're gonna have to figure out what you want to do, because you are so far outside the circle too, and as the circle closes in more and more and more, it's gonna make it even harder to find an actual good little hay bale here where you can hide.
Oh gosh, they're taking so much damage. We're drifting. In fact, they're moving into where Team Liquid unfortunately just fell, and they've got no choice. Guns a-blazing, they just got to fight the way forward. That's the only option. Influence Rage will also be just in front of them. They'll focus some shots on Vios Gaming, who's going to be just in front of them as well. And like you said, pick and choose. Where do we go? Well, Baton, he's going to be the anchor player staying back. The rest of the roster is going to be pushing forward on the Vios Gaming. Vios Gaming, though, putting out some damage, but Wolves is answering back. It's going to be a push and pull, but it looks like Vios Gaming might have the upper edge. The first time truly showcasing what this new team is all about. And they are not wasting their screen time, not wasting their moments. But can Baton be the hero needed for this Wolves roster? Can he hit the car enough? Well, he cannot, unfortunately. And Wolves will continue to get pieced apart, piece by piece, player by player. It's Coops and Baton trying to keep the hopes and dreams alive. As that fight is unfolding, X-Force is also opposite of 9Z, another roster that has been playing out of this world. 7, you highlighted how good they are. Well, I haven't been disappointed with their performance. Up to 6 total points so far for this game alone. 9Z sitting at 0 eliminations, but it's still early goings. A chance to finish off strong. Meanwhile, X-Force, they're at a current number of 3. And this fight, well, it's about to be underway.
That's right. In 9C, at least they have the advantage here that they are going to be within buildings. They're going to have to allow other teams to fight it out. Wolves ends up getting eliminated. And, man, I would love to talk after this match ends about that rotation there from Wolves, because I felt like they could have definitely done a lot better with the situation that they were presented. But for now, X-Force currently 3 eliminations to their name, 3 players still alive. 9C Global still within the zone, is still within the circle. Right now, you just have to chill, let everybody else fight it out, and wait for the right timing. Because if they can
9Z
take care
wins the
here
fight
of
against
X-Force,
X-Force.
they are going to be free to go,
X-Force is
at
doing a
least
whole
from
lot
the
of shooting,
southern,
9Z
western side
doing
of
a
the
whole lot of
circle.
camping.
And you
They're
have
gonna get
VIP on top of the mountain, too. Just so many teams that are going to be able to just keep an eye out open for everybody that's going to be out in the open, trying to hide behind a hay bale. Let's see what this circle is going to be giving us. Center, north,
A7
east.
wins.
Ooh, it is going to be
A7
east.
gonna kill the
SB is going to be
VG,
blessed
and
by
they're
that,
gonna kill the
as well as
S2
Alpha 7 if they're able to pick up that player and find
then
another hay bale
UT
to
is
hide
gonna
behind.
Gatekeep.
Yeah, but is it really going to be a blessing or a
Force.
curse, Seven? You just saw Savage in that circle
9Z
shift
fight.
previously slamming Team
VIP
Liquid at that
is the
shack,
only
so I'm expecting
team
whether
that
it's
can really
9Z,
fuck up
X-Force,
anyone.
or even United for gaming, potentially doing that exact same play onto the shack. VIP Esports as well, having to make that rotation in. A lot of these squads on the edge, you're really working with nothing on this circle shift. You got those one or two hay bales, the shack in the center with the dip on it, but it's so free for you to pull up. You have to honestly get blessed with hitting some nades, and unfortunately, Vios Gaming, they're going to get unblessed by Alpha 7 with those sort of frag, nades, stuff like that. And for the most part, X-Force, I'm kind of questioning us even staying here so late into the circle shift with the blue zone right on you. Yeah, they have the vehicles tailored, but Milos, he was proning outside of the compound here. He's going to be playing spoiler on X-Force.
Valak with the nade in. They're pushing forward. You said you didn't want them to stay here. Well, they're going to take matters into their own hands. Oh, look at Milos! Look at Milos on the fade. They're on the opposite side. Fate spots him out, tries to get the shot. He's trying to shoot the toes. He can't get it. Fate's forced to back away. But that X-ray vision making moments even more exciting than they truly are. Remix up ahead. He might dodging the nades left and right. He's going to be all right. But Fate is now stuck literally behind a tree. He needs reinforcements. He needs his roster to back him up. I love that Remix is parking the bus in the back end. That's going to make the push even harder for the X-Force roster, but push they must, and push they will, and they are getting the elims needed in order to break away from this house that they've been stuck at for the longest time, Seven.
Being able to find an opening, can 24K connect with any of this nades? He's not going to be able to, but they're going to be able to switch it. I think they're able to tell where that last player is going to be. It is going to be Remix, their last teammate during the Titan series. Is he the one that's going to stop him? And right now it is looking like it, as Remix and 9C Global is going to be able to just come out on top between that fight. X-Force, what could have been right there, especially with the elimination points going your way, it ends up backfiring for them. And then we end up going to another team, Alpha 7. I mean, they've been chilling here after they took care of Vios Gaming that was close to them. Now they have to worry about Influence Rage. On top of that, United for Gaming. Interested to see how they're going to be able to perform here. You can see them. They're still keeping that vehicle to their name, as Korea is usually known as the anchor. He's wanting to be the one that scouts a little bit more.
Oh, so we haven't noted it yet. Revo, 5 eliminations under his belt already. We know a lot of these players got that powerhouse factor to them, but he's just been in the last 2 games dominating every single 1v1, every single 4v4 with the squad. And I think the squad has just perfected the craft of playing around your players that are feeling hot. Revo, he's showing up day one. He's putting that work in. And for the eliminations right now, make it 6, 8 total for the team. We could see it on that map in the top right there, Taylor. Full dominance of this north side circle.
I mean, Revo's already at 10 eliminations combined for map 1 and map 2, and we haven't even concluded map 2. 10 eliminations for himself as an individual. That is more than the majority of the 16 teams competing across 2 maps. That's insane and truly special. I mean, come on, the guy can do it all. That's why he's MVP 4 times, and that's why he's on the best roster in the world, Alpha 7. For Alpha 7, they've got the vehicles and the utility, but they also have Influence Rage in front of them. But luckily for them, it's not as active as it is on the left-hand side of the map, on the west side, where you've got Savage Esports dancing around. VIP still holding on tight with their solo. That's going to be Poppy Sour trying to stay alive. And then, of course, 9Z. But for Alpha 7, they got to get active. Influence Rage is putting on the pressure, and Flaw is taking down Mafioso.
Sometimes you get a little bit too confident, and that's exactly what happened there with Mafioso and Alpha 7, sending it a little bit too far, but they know what's currently at stake. They know if they can take care of Influence Rage, they will be able to be positioned perfectly to win this match as well. So it is a risk worth taking here for Alpha 7. Revel continuing on their performance there that you were talking about, Reflections, continuing to get eliminations, but now Carrillo's going to get caught, and he's only going to come down to Revel, and Revel, he's going to have to park the bus. He's going to have to wait it out and see what the other teams are going to have to do now, with only being the last player standing for Alpha 7.
Yeah, snaking it out too. I think they just didn't realize Influence Rage had such a huge split on that eastern edge. They got the one knock off of Revo playing forward here, but if you don't spot all the players, you're relieving just yourself completely vulnerable. And I think they actually got the knock onto Carrillo. They're going for a revive in the open. No smoke down, no vehicle to kind of go for it behind. So maybe a bit of a misplay from our superstar squad, but having enough eliminations already, this being in that top 3 position, Taylor, they still are getting enough points in our eyes, of course, to be doing better than most in the lobby.
Yeah, that's it. Alpha 7's already done their job. I mean, Revo, after all, has gotten 6 eliminations himself. This might be the end, though. He's very low when it comes down to the bullet side of things. But, I mean, you never know. Just like Coops earlier in Map 1 on Sanhok, Revo, he's a scary player to be last alive, and he might be going against a full-man team of Savage. He might be going against a 3-man unit of Influence Rage, but you can't count him out as long as he's on this map. I want to get rid of him, and a lot of empty space up ahead. Nobody wants to be the first team to push forward. Trying to just separate themselves as much as possible, using drops, whatever you can. And that zone will shift. The only one who's currently in it is going to be Lil Boy from Influence. Zone will shift. The only one who's currently in it is going to be Lil Boy from Influence Rage. Everybody else has to rotate in, albeit Savage doesn't have to go very far. But Revo's got the longest distance, and our solo from Alpha 7, I don't know if he's going to be able to make it in 7.
I don't know if he's going to be able to, but right now for Savage Esports is trying to keep this player alive. Can Octi stay alive? Because he would just be such a massive anchor, and he also needs this vehicle to hurry up and blow up so he doesn't have to worry about it. Influence Rage, you mentioned it earlier. Little Boy, he is currently within that circle, trying to make sure he allows his other teammates to find a way within this circle. Yeah, for Revo, I don't know how he's going to be able to do it, but if he does end up doing it, you know what? Just end up crowning him MVP right away for day 1 at least, because he's been able to put up points. But there you go, Octi. Give him enough time and give him enough info while he was healing to at least tell him where he could possibly hit. Little Boy now trying to hide, now trying to have to move. Remember, he was throwing nades earlier, getting a little bit closer. Can he spot him? This nade might end up hitting, and if it does, it could end up meaning 2 players. Meanwhile, Revo doesn't care if he's far away from the zone. He's going to try to go for eliminations, and Little Boy does end up connected with those grenades. Massive nade for Influence Rage as they're looking to take it. Oh my goodness, I can't believe he just did that.
Yeah, Savage.
Dude, Enigma, Lil Boy was set up early on. Diego also on the opposite side. Influence Rage, if they steal this game, I mean, they are stealing it from the hands of Savage Esports, who is so close to victory with the man advantage.
Yeah, and look at Diego. He's got that cross path for Snacks. He's able to spot him as soon as the circle starts to close. And with it being stage 8, we're going into nothing in the center. Influence Rage has all of the slopes in front of him. And if you're Savage Esports, you're really questioning that rotation going on. But you got to discuss that after the match. You're still in that 2v2 section, but Maurer coming in slow. The zone's starting to push him. He does have the ghillie on here, Taylor, but does Little Boy spot it? Diego actually finds Snacks, the slope working in his favor, and now the 2v1, leaving it open for Influence Rage to steal this 4v2 spot.
All right, Influence Rage, well on their way to victory. 2v1, not guaranteed, though. They can still mess this up somehow.
Oh, no.
Marier, alive. We're snaking in. Both players opposite of each other. This is the second time we've seen 2 players snake towards each other in the same game. And he's got Diego and Lil Boy lined up. If he can fire this appropriately, if he can focus both of them at the same time, he can clutch this out. This can still go to Savage Esports. The solo YOLO play, the solo with an opportunity to make it happen. Diego's got a hay bell, and that might be what it takes, but he's been spotted. Lil Boy's going for the finish, and it won't happen. Influence Rage will hold on tight to the win. They get it with 11 eliminations. And boys, we've got a new winning team up on the podium.
Not surprised at all there with what Little Boy was able to do with that magic, that wonderful grenade, being able to take 2 players there from Savage Esports. This is exactly what you expected them. And then on top of that, I mean, they were playing that snake. I did get a little bit freaked out, though. Not gonna lie, Reflections. You called it. When they lined up, I was like, why are you lining up for him?
Scary, scary stuff. Because teams throw it sometimes like that. They really do. 2v... I mean, Enigma, we've seen, especially during Titan Series, come on, 1v4s happen because the teammates lined up, and that's not what you want to do. But ultimately, good news is for all the Influence Rage fans, they hold it down tight, they get the win, and Lil Boy was a large reason for that, Enigma.
Yeah, and I mean, it really comes down to that sort of bait smoke play on his hay bale he had thrown, being able to sneak, honestly, forward towards the two players rotating into him. Him having to take that 2v1 action himself, being able to get both with the frag grenades really put Influence Rage in that driver's seat of that game. And unfortunately for Savage Esports, they made that rotation, but they stopped early. They weren't even close to the zone when they tried going for that push on an Influence Rage. So really kind of just stellar defense plays coming from Influence Rage. But, I mean, Alpha 7 as well. Revo getting away with one of those eliminations. I honestly thought he was about to do it at the end there if he was able to make it into that end circle, right?
He has that ability, doesn't he, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, Revo has that ability. He's sitting at 11 eliminations throughout 2 games, obviously on Sandhawk and Arigel. Just well done overall. And Loops, too. Let's shout them out. They had a great game 1-7. Game 2, they started off hot and heavy. Very, very poised. Looking like potentially a deep run. Obviously, they finish off in 10th place, a little bit further down, missing out on the placement points. But Loops continues to slay out, and that's a little bit different from their normal play style. That is a bit more of a slower play style, working their way methodically through the map. It seems like now, this time around this season, they want to be more aggressive.
Yeah, and I respected what Loops was able to do there in Pochinki as well. Remember, they landed there. We're talking about, okay, what is this team going to be able to do? And then we saw them teasing the fight between themselves and Ro. And then ultimately, we switch back to them, and they're actually taking a fight with Inco Gaming in Pochinki and winning that fight. Not sure how that came about. Not sure what made them realize that there was still another team behind us. But for them to have that awareness, clear that team behind you, and then try to take the fight there with Row 19, I really, really like that awareness from this team. But this was the winning play right there. That beautiful grenade from Little Boy is what ended up clutching them the win.
Yeah, well done from him. Little Boy, he'll finish off with 2 eliminations, but 2 that mattered in the end to get the win for Influence Rage. A lot of damage across the board, and to be expected with 11 eliminations, they had the most throughout game number 2, and the most of the day so far for PMSL America Spring Season. I'm sure we'll see closer to 20 as the days go along, but 11 is currently the elimination lead for at least the moment. Influence Rage, well done. They finish off in first place, though. Net themselves 21 points, 11 elims, plus the winner chicken dinner, which is 10 bonus points, brings them up to 21, which will put them in a very healthy spot. We do see a couple of North American rosters making it onto the list. Obviously, X-Force being down there with a total of 5 points for themselves. And I will say, X-Force still playing well at times, but they just got caught in that shed a bit too long.
Yeah, and I think it really came down to whoever that 9Z player was, sticking the revive in the smoke, not wavering over the fact that it's a 1v2. The nades weren't connecting from X-Force. That really was kind of the fault in their stars of having to wait those 4 or 5 seconds for you to prime the frag grenades just to not connect. I would have liked to have seen that gung-ho action. But the second page here, we're seeing a lot of teams. You were mentioning Loops earlier, as well as Vios Gaming getting 7 total eliminations each. Both of those squads at least putting up some numbers, but we do know, obviously, that they're wanting to get some of those positioning points, those placement points in these next few airing games.
While we look at the overall, no surprise, Alpha 7 will be in first place. A large reason for that is based off of their winner chicken dinner on Sanok with 9 eliminations, and then follows up with an Arigel performance, top 3, number 3 in fact, with 9 elims. They're on fire. They're already at 18 elims, 11 of those going to Revo himself. That's just how dominant of a player he is. But Influence Rage will jump up to second place off of their game to win. We'll see how far they can go. Still early goings, not only in the season, but also in the day as a whole. Alarm bells, we're not ringing them just yet, but who do we need to be on the lookout for, 7, who are towards the bottom?
That first place team, man. I know you said towards the bottom, but I'm just amazed at how Alpha 7 is playing. I called it out during that match. If they do it again this match, okay, now I'm actually going to be keeping an even closer eye on them. And I'm going to, when I do talk about them, just a heads up for everybody currently watching at home, I'm going to be critiquing them even more because now that's 2 plays where they focus into the middle. But the thing is, this team is able to readjust. This team is able to play that outer edge as they were able to showcase right here perfectly on this last match. And on top of that, I mean, the gun power's there, and Revo's currently popping off, and you wouldn't want anybody else to pop off like that man can.
Oh, without a doubt. If he's having a bad game, you're worried for Alpha 7. You do. The rest of the guys, they can carry the torch, but Revo is just simply that guy. 11 eliminations, leading the charge, and again, that's more than some of the teams have combined from all 4 of their members. Well done from Alpha 7. They lead the charge. Question is, can anybody catch up? Influence Rage might be one of those rosters to do so. Sarpatch had a chance, though, to do quite a few interviews at the start of the day. This time he had a chance to speak to Klaus from Shoot to Survive. Let's hear what Klaus had to say.
All right, here we are with Klaus from S2S. Welcome to Brazil. Welcome to PMSL America, a LAN event. How's it feeling? How's it been in there?
It feels good. The phone took a bit to get used to, but I think we're ready now.
And how's it be to be on the stage, to see all the teams around you, all the other players? How's that feel?
It's new for us, but I don't think it changes anything. We'll just play our game, and we'll try and win.
Not nervous at all? You're calm? And the rest of the teams, you're good?
Yeah, we're good.
They was just eating some Asian food. What were you eating?
Chicken fried rice, I think.
Nice. I'm hungry. I'm going to go get that some. Bro, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Best of luck. Let's go.
And welcome back, everyone, to the 2025 PMSL America spring season. I'm Taylor Reflections, double joined by Seven and Enigma. 2 games down, 4 more to go. We're hopping back into Arrogale. We've got it 3 times in a row. Better get used to it because it's coming back at you very quickly. And Seven, for these teams, they just got off Arrogale, right? They know exactly what's about to happen. And the teams really did fill each other out because that was incredibly slow and polar opposite of what we witnessed from the Sandhawk, which is incredibly quick. 3-4 teams lost going into stage 3. We didn't lose anybody going into stage 3. We lost a couple of players, but no teams. I'm expecting a little bit of the same Here on Erangel, as the teams continually try and figure out what's really happening and what's going on. For Wolves, been impressed with their play today. I really have been. They've shown great prowess. They've shown the ability to slow things down when needed, which is, again, opposite of what they were last year. A very aggressive roster, in your face, like to be, the tip of the spear. They're no longer that team, right? When at least so far over the last two maps, 7.
I'm like, Wolves, you know what? You're playing good here and there. Seb, can we talk about that rotation? What happened with that rotation? As we were talking about it during the break. And please, bring it back to us three, because I want to have a bit of a back and forth here with Enigma, because I know, Enigma, you were saying, why shoot before you push?
Yeah, I mean, we have the vehicle. We drop baton off early. We're looking dead center in Influence Rage, and we're seeing Vios off in the distance saying, oh, we're going to shoot them, and then we're going to rotate right behind them, thinking that they're not going to turn around and just put a few right into our dome. So a little bit too eager, I think. Maybe Wolves just got a little too overconfident, really wanting to get that engagement going. Maybe that blue zone stress was playing a factor, but I mean, you saw how I was in between the broadcasts, right? This team, yep. I'm not expecting them to be struggling with making those rotations. They had the time to work with. They had that far eastern edge. They should have been able to come up with a methodical plan. Not only them, but also 9Z, X-Force, that far western squads that were fighting at the compound, both taking forever to get into the circle. These teams right now, that stage 4, stage 5, I'm not sure if it's land jitters. You've obviously been to a lot of events there, 7, and even you, Taylor, in just different mobile games and stuff like that. This is the moment where we need to see you get over these nerves, get over this pressure that land brings to you, and be able to perform when it matters most, because we only got 3 days for phase 1. We're already through the first Erangel. You going back to back on it, Taylor, you got to start performing.
You do. There's not a lot of time. So this is the interesting thing about going back to back to back Erangels. There is a benefit to having the map spread out, in my opinion, from a competitive standpoint. You know, typically you got Erangel map 1, map 3, you have Erangel, and then you hop back into Erangel map 6. You become less fatigued, and you also have a chance to, take a little bit of a break and gather your thoughts before you head back into Erangel, right? Because there's a map to separate the two. Now you don't get that opportunity. You don't get that chance. And from a competitor standpoint, these 3 maps, these 3 Erangels, especially if they're not going your way and they're not going good, can seem like a blur. And can seem like they go by in the blink of an eye. And before you know it, you picked up 2 eliminations across 3 maps. You finished off in 12th place all 3 times. And you're like, what happened? And now you got to then, of course, head into 2 Miramars, which, granted, will be fresh and you'll be ready for them. But it's like sometimes going back to back to back in the maps can be a blessing, but it can also be a curse if you're not playing that well. And in this case, I'm hoping it's not the curse for the Wolves, because they did show great prowess in map 1. Map 2, it got a little bit weird with the pop shots, but I will say that's the whole point of these phases, right? We got 3 phases. We got phase 1, phase 2 for the league play to earn your bonus points. You're going into the grand finals. So, 7, I look at this as a time to just truly improve as a roster, as a team, and more importantly, get back on LAN. Maybe you haven't been there in a long time. Maybe this is your first time competing on LAN. Get those jitters out of the way, brother, because grand finals is where everything comes together, and that's where you need to be bringing your A game.
Yeah, for sure. Especially for some teams that will qualify, especially from PMCO. Sometimes they end up having those new players, and sometimes players don't even have jitters. It just happens to be a bad call, which I feel like that's exactly what happened there for Wolves, because they had plenty of time to work with, and I think they were just they got tunnel vision into what was going on over there with VO's gaming, and on top of that, Alpha 7, that they didn't even want to make any kind of push towards the south, which at the time, keep in mind, this is all in hindsight for everybody currently watching. We do get a chance to watch the map. We do get a chance to see where everybody's currently positioned. But with the power that this team has, with Coops on the helm as well for Wolves, if they would have went south, they would have been able to take on VIP, and they would have had just so much more terrain to work with, and at least maybe extend their lives a little bit more. But ultimately, it didn't end up working out. Luckily for them, we do end up going back to another Erangel match.
Sure, and luckily for Influence Rage, we go back to another Erangel, because Sandhawk, if we had 3 of those in a row, I don't know if they would be towards the top as they currently are. I mean, they finished off with 0 eliminations, way towards the bottom on Sandhawk, but on Erangel, different story. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. They get first place and 11 eliminations, which is truly special. And speaking of Influence Rage. Sarpatch had a chance to talk to Diego, and Diego was a pop-up player in map number 2. Let's hear what Diego had to say.
All right, guys, here we are with Diego from Influence Rage. Congratulations on the second match. You guys are coming very strong from PMGC. You did great over there. How's the chemistry with the team? Parabéns por o jogo. Vocês jogaram muito bem. Como está a química? Vocês bateram muito bem na PMGC. Então, como está esse ambiente depois de isso, estando aqui agora?
Acredito que a nossa maior aprendizado foi a PMGO. Apesar do resultado bem ruim, a gente conseguiu aprender bastante e a gente vai aplicar tudo que a gente aprendeu aqui na PMSL e ganhar o campeonato.
We learned a lot from the PMGO, especially that was our worst performance. We're going to learn from that and try to be a champions here. Not much time, so thank you very much, sir. Let's go back.
That's right, Sarpatch. Not much time because we're hopping into map number 3. Back into Erangel we go. For Diego saying a lot of lessons learned through PMGO. They're bringing those lessons here, which clearly paid off, right? That Erangel was phenomenal. The way they played that in-game was great. Did they stack up? Was there a chance maybe to losing it second? Yes, there was. But did it happen? No. And therefore, they did exactly what was needed to be the winning team, be victorious. Here it is, map number 3. We're heading into Erangel. Chat, you paying attention? It might be popping up, it might not be. I don't know. You guys are the ones who got to be on your game here, because there's a lot to be earned, not only code-wise, but also to be earned just knowledge-wise, watching the games as a whole. There it is. We've got our next Amazon gift cards. We've got a couple more being thrown your way. Be quick out there, because from what I heard, Seven's trying to take it. I joke, he can't. But Seven wanted to. He wanted to cash out. I don't blame him, man. Free money is free money, and we're looking to give it out to all of you out there. Erangel, map number 3. Let's get it started and see if Influence Rage can replicate their success with the first place, 11 eliminations, and a wonderful job well done. And also, will we get anybody landing military like Team Liquid this time around, who seriously need to step it up, or they're going to fall behind very quickly? So, Enigma, where are we going?
Well, it's looking like we're going towards school here. That plane path going directly down the middle, it seems. A lot of these spots, other than maybe Hospital, George Pole, being in reach. And the interesting thing, especially with a team like X-Force and stuff like that, when they get these plane paths, they've got that alternate drop spot, right? They've got that secondary. They usually go Primorsk. I believe their spot's going to be somewhere on that far eastern side. A lot of teams, though, with it being these new squads in here, right, Seven, a lot of teams potentially just opt to go to their main drop, but they take what's called that two-step rotation. They go for the vehicle spawn, maybe like what 9Z's doing, and they make that rotation far out into zone to play it later on in the match. And the interesting thing that I always enjoy thinking, we talked about it, of course, with this being the back-to-back-to-back map format, the second Erangel, how are teams going to be able to switch it up? And I mean, that's a big switch up, to say the least. The zone, it's not even on the map for some of this.
You know who's happy about this zone? Alpha 7. They usually go George because of the plane pad that were forced to land Lipovkaz, was usually their second one. Meanwhile, I'm over here interacting with the chat. Everybody that's currently watching on YouTube, asking them, who do you think is going to win? Everybody started putting Alpha 7, and then that circle pops up. So for everybody picking Alpha 7, it looks like it might be likely, but you never know with what's going to happen because Team Liquid, as you were mentioning in the earlier reflections, I mean, this team, it's been I know it's only 2 games, all right, but I'm going to be judging teams here differently, especially with what they have showed me in the past. And for this team, I want to see a little bit more. Hopefully not losing any players earlier on, especially with this map that has over 40% water.
That's crazy. That's insane. Yeah, this zone is diabolical. This zone is going to be nuts. And for teams such as 9Z, they're going to go ahead and get on mainland as quickly as possible. They don't want to have to fight their way, not only through military, because they probably expect there's going to be a couple of teams they'll have to fight on that right side bridge. But, also when they do go across the right side bridge, it's like, who's going to be waiting for them? Well, it could be Wolves. It could be Bios Gaming. So they're going to take matters into their own hands. They're going to fight for mainland, and they'll take their chances that way. From military, though, Team Liquid does go back to their homeland. They land military. They will have AGG. That could be a skirmish developing relatively quickly, probably towards stage 3, stage 4 on the right side bridge. But for everybody else, still spread apart, kind of like they were in game number 2 on Erangel that we just witnessed. No early hot drops, nobody testing the waters, nobody wanting to fight just yet. And with this zone being as diabolical as it is, Enigma, I'm highly expecting teams to get a bit scrappy going into stage 1, into stage 2, because that zone, with not a lot of mainland remaining, dude, a lot of teams are going to be very close together.
Listen, if we could have the player cams when that circle shift popped, it would have been the same as probably what Zfon and I are going to be doing, pulling our hair out of our head, because what rotation are you going to make if Savage decides to camp the water edge by Milta Power? What happens if the bridge camp gets in front of you from Wolves Esports and you're the Team Liquid squad having to suffer through the blue zone? So much of stuff in this sort of circle shift is up to really the hands of other teams that you just wish you could rotate early. And unfortunately, there's this vicious cycle. We've seen it in Titan series and stuff like that. You make the botation, you start getting camped, you go to the bridge, you start getting bridge camped. The interesting thing about it is, with it being Americas, you're not sure where in that cycle we're really at for teams deciding to make their choices. So if you're a Team Liquid fan, if you're an AGG fan, you're hoping that maybe your team chooses the right play. And unfortunately, looks like Savage, they were actually the dead center team, getting a knock early on from Alpha 7. And that's not the team, especially so close to you, to be getting a knock onto you.
Once again, this team, Alpha 7, looking to get towards the center of the circle after the first circle pops up. It doesn't matter who's on their way. It doesn't matter if anybody's on their way. They're going to just be taking the fight and going for it. Just a very disrespectful way to play for some players, but I'm absolutely loving it. Keep it going, Alpha 7. You're pretty much just big daddying everybody in this lobby, at least on the first couple of circles.
Yo, and we talked about that during the break. You know, Alpha 7, the way that they're playing is disrespectful to the teams, but I personally am a massive fan of that. You know, again, they started very slow during the fall season. This season, they're not wasting their opportunity. They're looking to dominate this lobby. Even though top 3 move on to EWC and naturally earn the bulk of the money when it comes to not only the league play, but also the grand finals of the PMSL America Spring season, but they're looking to dominate those other rosters who do qualify for EWC. That's their home. That is their turf. They dominated that tournament. They won. Okay, and they're going back in, and they want to know that they're in the best possible position, and they're going to play the way they're looking to play on that main stage over at EWC. Bottom line, period, and they're playing exactly like that, and nobody's holding a candle to them, albeit, at least from the first 2 maps. Still plenty of time to go. You never know what the days are going to bring, but loving Alpha 7. Nobody's challenging them. I wouldn't either. They're hanging out, but we do have Inco kind of around that of Vios Gaming. Potentially a fight between them could be developing relatively soon, and I've noticed there is a teammate from Savage who's going to be going out. There's going to be Octi, who's trying to just scout the horizons up ahead. But yeah, Vios Gaming, Inco, most likely going to have a bit of a skirmish later on, and Wolves looks to be pushing back Team Liquid.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about, right? Is it going to be a matter of the bridge camp, or are you going to be able to make that botation safely? And unfortunately for Team Liquid, they tried to get right in front of AGG. Unfortunately, Wolves just actually full 4-man stack on the gas station. You don't really even want to play right on the bridge. It allows Team Liquid to potentially full slam and you can go trade for trade to get the revives. But Wolves, they're keeping you back, and unfortunately, I'm seeing it on our map feed as well. Looks like AGG realizes Team Liquid tried crossing the bridge. Mythic being caught out potentially by one of the AGG members. Now, this is a matter of that time crunch, right? Does that clock start ticking in your head, or are you completely clueless of what's going to be happening? The shots do come down, not from Melgar, one of his teammates, but if you're all in vehicles, if you're so spread out like this, I want to see it from All Glory Gaming. It looks like they're going to do it. Full sending on a Mythic. The Grelin shots coming in. Melgar as well now. Full slamming on the Mythic, but M2M, he gets put down by Mythic. That's one. He needs to find the next player here, but with both shotguns, it's a matter of who hits the shots first. Team Liquid needing to scramble to give the support. Mythic getting peppered down. No chance to heal just yet, and we're seeing it now here, 7. The 2v2 slam on the compound. Can you get the revives going, or will Team Liquid turn this fight around?
Now, I don't know if AGG had realized there that Mythic had rotated around, and he's going to be going for a push here, trying to go towards the second floor. Going to be slowed down a bit there as he does end up taking some damage. But everybody from Team Liquid, they wanted to make a cool, easy rotation across the bridge. Boy, did that end up backfiring. Not only do you have Wolves on the main island, on top of that, you have AGG on your back. But now we at least have the full squad here, and AGG needs to be able to readjust. You can see now the player that was on top of the mountain is going to start pushing down. Are any of those grenades going to hit? None end up hitting AGG slowing it down, waiting for his last teammate, for Charlie that's currently in a vehicle, getting closer and closer as the next circle is going to be closing in. Chief does end up getting knocked.
Chief is knocked. He's down. AGG might want to capitalize off this if they can, but it's tough to push those buildings. It really is. And we've seen teams lose their lives one by one as they try to push up one choke point, which ultimately is the stairs from Elgar, potentially trying to get active, just blind firing through the smoke. I don't blame him, but Charlie from the hilltop has dropped down. He'll take down Chief. Another one has fallen. Team Liquid might be on the out. Melgar with the finish, at least on one player. He'll reposition himself. I think Team Liquid might be in a bit of trouble. They only have 2 players left to fight. I believe they're trying to potentially stick a res. Ayala's cooking a nade, but not going to be able to kill. Well, it does get some damage, but not much. AGG has full control of this fight. Full control of the building. And all Team Liquid can do is look inwards. But the benefit, Enigma, is they do manage to get their teammate back up and get a knock on the Charlie.
Yeah, Fran needed to cross with his team, having this 4v3. Instead, he sits back and he allows Team Liquid to get the full reset. And now he tries pulling up late, but the shots come in from Mythic. Teammates full slamming the stairs now. The pre-fires from the shotgun shots, allowing Team Liquid to start forcing themselves up the stairwell. And AGG, what could have been, now down to just a solo. His teammate honestly body blocking him, luckily getting thirsted out from Ayala, but 2v1 situation. The stairs can be deadly and all the pre-fires come through. You're not sure which room the player's in, but it's all about the 1v1 here on the stairs, and they double up, but the shotgun shots only connects on one. Taylor Ayala somehow managing to live with his teammate getting knocked behind him.
And the experience from Team Liquid shining through. The veterans stay alive in a difficult situation. Meanwhile, we transfer over to Vios Gaming in a fight of their own. We've seen them get scrappy early on. This map will be no different in map 3. And they're making good use of their screen time onto Inko. The question is, though, can Inko pull a Team Liquid and reverse the roles? They're on the back foot. Vios Gaming seems to have the advantage, granted only with Nunez, but Nunez is hitting some wonderful shots. Wonderful shots indeed, and it'll be no different from the player just up ahead. Gets challenged from up top, hits the shots needed, gets the 2, trying to go for the team wipe. He's got 2 more to deal with, hits the shots needed, but can't get the finish. And Vios Gaming will get eliminated, but hey, a job well done. 7 eliminations and several eliminations and a wonderful performance on screen. This Vios Gaming roster 7 has proven to be a thorn in the side of so many teams that think they're going to roll up, get an easy elimination, only to have their hands tied as Vios Gaming pepper shot into them and almost takes them out.
They definitely have. Luckily there for Inko Gaming, there was nobody close by to kind of push there and create some kind of a third-party situation. But with the circle closing in, they're going to have to start worrying of where is it going to be going on. They're still going to be within the circle. They're going to be outside. One team that's going to be outside is going to be none other than Wolves. And Inko's barely outside as well. Loops Esports, though, they're currently chilling. They're not having to worry about anything. And another team that's going to be chilling is going to be 9Z. 9Z is going to be within the middle of that circle, too. Let's see if they can end up grouping up, too. By the way, going back to Team Liquid, Ayala and Mythic, Ayala played that so well. And I'm pretty sure Mythic is going to be saying, how the heck did he knock me? I was behind you.
Hey, but they did lose one, I believe. It is going to be a 3-man of Team Liquid remaining. They did get those 4 eliminations, so they're starting strong. But the scary thing is, we remember how that first zone was, right, guys? 40% on that eastern Mill to Water. We went all the way back to farm, and out of all the teams I feel the most sorry for, guys, it's got to be Wolves Esports. 4-man, they dropped here in farm. They dropped spread. They made that rotation all the way past Milta early, hedging their bets that it's going to at least center up in the zone. God said, nah, we're going back west. We're forcing you back into the farmlands. And unfortunately for them, they lose both Doran and Baton. No eliminations to their name. Honestly, just hoping that they can get blessed now in this shack. But a lot of that is a lot of what ifs, a lot of honestly wishful thinking, to say the least. But Alpha 7, they're never about the wishful thinking 7. They're always about giving themselves a situation to fight through and shoot to survive. Klaus, the star player for that team, just getting put down early by Alpha 7 this match.
And this is one of the main reasons why everybody was looking forward to seeing what Squash was able gonna be able to do here with this team. And he's now up to 3 eliminations, and now Alpha 7 is looking to just reposition himself and play a bit of an edge here against none other than Shoot to Survive. And Shoot to Survive, I mean, if you can find Mafioso here, that'll be perfect, but I don't think they're going to be able to, as Squash is going to go back and pick him up. How are they going to be readjusting here? More than likely, they're going to be just hopping on vehicles and trying to leapfrog there the Shoot to Survive players. Meanwhile, on the circle, there's just a lot going on. We were talking about Loops being there within farm. You were talking about Wolves as well. I'm with you. It does hurt, Enigma, that Wolves does end up landing in farm. They end up losing 2 players, and they're kind of forced to go back to farm. But I am happy, though, to see that it is Coops and Juancho, the 2 players that are currently alive, because we saw what Coops was able to do in the first Sandhawk. We saw him being able to clutch up eliminations and points for his team when nobody expected him to. So if there was ever a chance for that team to be able to edge out even more points, that would be it, especially with those 2 players.
For sure, and I know, Taylor, you're probably eyeing a lot of other teams right now, looking at the map feed. A lot of movement kind of on the map. I'm interested in hearing what kind of team you're really eyeing, especially with the circle shift coming up. Who do you think's really going to be that fragging squad in the lobby? And no, I don't want you to say Alpha 7 here, Taylor. I need another name from you.
Yeah, I was too. I was Alpha 7, but only because, you know, they went to a very comfortable spot over in Milta. Now they are having to rotate all the way around up top. So it's a challenge, I think, for any roster, but Alpha 7, they'll be just fine. Their positioning is great. But no, I think this could be another great game from Loops.
Yes.
You know, pretty much dead center. You got X-Force around them, but they're relatively comfortable where they're at. And X-Force and Loops do have history in the previous maps, and it's typically Loops who gets the advantage and gets the best plays against them. So I think Loops are going to be just fine. Now, VIP, all eyes on them because Alpha 7's rolling in hot. VIP has to battle against Alpha 7, and this is the battle for the coastline, and ultimately the battle to be opposite of that of Team Liquid, who's going to be just off to the right. And also underway is Influence Rage, using the cars as barriers to tree as well, but they're being pincered by quite a few teams. But as we focus on the Alpha 7 and VIP, this is an important fight to win. Winning this fight gives you the dead zone of map, or is at least as dead as it could possibly be. But VIP, a team that we haven't seen too much of in the previous maps, now has a chance to get some screen time, much like that of Vios Gaming has got. And I hope they don't let it go to waste. This is a good roster. Ayuya, Poppy Sour, some big names from the North American side of things who are looking to make some big waves, but Alpha 7 looking to shut them down immediately. Alpha 7, a team that has rotated from the right side of the map all the way through the northern, now on the western side, taking down players along their path, is now once again taking down yet another team, and it looks to be VIP and 7. I don't think VIP is going to be able to do anything, as Poppy Sour looks to be the last one alive.
Yeah, he's going to have to sacrifice those 2 players unless he just wants to give Alpha 7 another free elimination. But Alpha 7 making sure that they ended up picking Squash. Now they're back to the four-man squad. More than likely, they'll end up pushing there on Poppy Sour. Meanwhile, Intense Game with Silence trying to do a rotation here within the circle. And there's just so many teams currently locked in, so many people currently looking in at this open field that it's going to be hard to make one. And there you go. At least they were able to use one and then try to cash here on Influence Rage. But Influence Rage was ready with this little divot right there. They were ready for Intense Game, but it's going to start switching around as Intense Game knocks 2. Can they knock 3? There goes 4. And they take over. Even though they take some damage in regards to some players getting eliminated, it is still 2 alive. And Coops and Juancho from Wolves are looking to get into the action as well, as Alpha 7 makes the push to VIP and makes it look easy.
Yeah, VIP getting cleaned up, but I need to know if we can get a replay either after the game or if this game slows down, because I'm pretty sure Padrino just 1v4 Influence Rage on their car stack, full pulling up, somehow not getting knocked at all, being in the dead open 3-4 squad, scoping you from afar, and being able to live after that as well. Intense Game really being able to survive and weather the storm, and that's a big moment in this match. That's center spot. Obviously, they're not in a compound, but if they're able to at least get this next circle shift sort of their way, even if it's just a smidge of it on that center spot, they're able to really start farming potentially some of these other teams like Wolves, like Team Liquid, that have already lost players. But 7, I know we were just talking about it. Alpha 7, VIP. I'm not sure what happened with VIP to give them the first initial knock, but we all knew as soon as they got the thirst that it was going to be a wraps for Alpha 7.
It's the confidence that they're playing with, Enigma. It's the confidence that this team is playing with. Just absolute disregard for anything that these teams are doing. And they're playing it smart, too. I'm intrigued to see how they're actually going to end up performing now with this circle, right? took care of VIP. Now you have at least Row here with a little bit of a height advantage. On top of that, you're going to have some of the other teams within the horizon as well. Let's see how this team is able to find a way within this circle and see what Alpha 7 ultimately is going to be able to do. But honestly, even if they ended up getting eliminated just now, you might be thinking, man, why are they hyping up Alpha 7 so much? It's because they're currently absolutely killing everybody. They're up to 8 eliminations.
And they're already in first place, mind you, right? The rich get richer. But what's impressive to me is obviously they can slay out. We know that, but it's been their route for this map 3 again. They've had to take the long way around the zones and the stages. They started on the edge near water. Melted. They've then gone up to the northern side all the way to the left. And even now, they've got to push their way through. Alpha 7 has had to fight for real estate, tooth and nail, and they've made it work. Inko Gaming back on your screen. They were here just earlier, focused on X-Force, and 2 players from X-Force will now drop. The thing is, can Fate, we had an interview with them earlier, full confidence in conjunction with 24K, will at least get the final elimination onto one of the Inko members who now move their way upstairs. Kind of now the last stand of the Alamo. X-Force has successfully pushed Inko back. They're in trouble without question. And 24 and K, and along with Fate, are tightening the vice grip, and it will be successful. Inko will fall. During that skirmish, we are in trouble without question. And 24 and K, and along with Fate, are tightening now the last stand of the Alamo. X-Force has successfully pushed Inko back. They're in trouble without question. And 24 and K, and along with Fate, are tightening the vice grip, and it will be successful. Inko will fall. During that, finally, some space and some rest and a time to breathe for the teams will happen, as it felt like in that little short bit of 30 seconds, those big moments, 7, it was just non-stop firing back and forth, and we lost 3 teams within a span of at least 30 to 40 seconds.
And I am so shocked that X-Force was just fully committed to just paying attention forward, and they left their back open, allowing Inko Gaming to just make one of the, even though Inko Gaming ended up losing that, they made one of the easiest push and just fully surprised their X-Force. X-Force was able to react in time to at least get some eliminations, but Loops, I mean, we talked about earlier in regards to this team, they were center of the circle whenever we got that first circle, that second circle, they were able to third party and now take care of the team. Now Loops has a lot of room to work with.
Yeah, we're talking, what is that, 8 players off the board, and I really felt bad for X-Force because Valak, we saw caught in the dead open. He was starting to make a rotation to potentially push Shoot to Survive on that sort of wizard tower right in that farm section, but unfortunately, ALM getting knocked immediately from the Inko Gaming pull-up, and then after that, it's just the freest fight for Loops. Now we see it, the circle shift does go up to the north. It's always a what could have been moment for those squads, right, that do get eliminated in these prime real estate spots, and now Taylor, I'm eyeing that south side north. It's always a what could have been moment for those squads, right, that do get eliminated in these prime real estate spots, and now Taylor, I'm eyeing that south side. I know you are north. It's always a what could have been moment for those squads, right, that do get eliminated.
And easy for any other team other than Alpha 7 put into their spot in their map rotation, they would have been struggling. Without question, it would have been tough, but Alpha 7 has managed to make it happen, and, well, good on them. That's why they're one of the best in the world. Not only can they slay out, but their positioning, their IGL leadership is just simply incredible. And I got to say, Squash is also pulling up the newest addition to this Alpha 7 roster, returning once again his 3rd time here. He's going to be the elimination leader so far in Game 3 with a total of 4. But yeah, you got Wolves. They only have 2 members. They've got to work up. For Savage, they've got 3. They've got to work their way up. And 7, my eyes do go to 9Z, who's currently inside of the zone. Could play the gatekeeper to several of these rosters looking to move in.
I mean, at this point, this team has had to do absolutely nothing, letting everybody else fight it out. And that is the way to go with it, at least for what we're seeing so far. Juancho's going to end up getting knocked. Meanwhile, Royals of War keeping a close eye here on Alpha 7. I don't think they know it's Alpha 7, but they don't want to allow them to make any movement. There you go. As soon as Squash makes a push for it, they make sure they clip firing for them. And you can see them now making a rotation, now making a push there a little bit more towards the center of the circle as Alpha 7 is trying to stop them. Just a little bit of a back and forth here between these 2 squads. And Royals of War, as of right now, getting the better of it.
Yeah, but Royals of War, they got to be careful. If Alpha 7 even gets a knock onto ROW, the only play they have is to go forward. Luckily for Royals of War, Savage Esports is able to get an opening knock on Alpha 7, try to stall them a bit, but Those are these squads that we've seen them have their pop-off 4v4s, those eliminations under their belt in the last 2 matches we've seen. And with this being Aaron Go, every squad knows every little nook and cranny that teams like to play. And now we see it. Snacks taking the peek over at Carrillo, trying to make the full send play in. But Royals of War, they're going to forget that the solo's here, trying to get the thirst. Luckily, they pulled through with it, picking up at least 1 elimination under the belt. And what could have been a disaster scenario, Taylor, luckily, Royals of War coming out on top.
Well, finally, the gates are open for a new team to enter into top 3. Alpha 7 got first place in map 1, third place in map 2. This time around, they'll finish off in 7th place, albeit with 10 eliminations. The question is, who wants to be victorious? Will we have a new winner? Well, yes, we guaranteed a new winner because it was Alpha 7 Influence Rage before, so now the door is going to be wide open. And for Royals of War, they're looking like the front runners. 4 players alive, great positioning on the map, 5 eliminations. We've seen 11 as the highest eliminations for the day, granted across 2 maps. Can map 3 go to Royals of War in a span of 10, 11, maybe even, I don't know, 15? The possibility is there. They can drop big numbers, but they got to take the bull by the horn, and they've got to move up just a little bit. But if I'm them, I'm a little bit worried of 9Z and Loops off to my right, and maybe even getting pincered in between them and United for Gaming, who's going to be to their left. So they're going to have to fight hard, but they're my team to take this game number 3.
9C currently just holding this compound on this current circle as well. They're not going to have to rotate. And luckily for them, Loops Esports, whenever they were throwing a bunch of grenades, seeing if they could maybe end up catching anything from 19 Globan, they didn't. Which kind of slow whatever push they were trying to make. And instead, they're going to go over 2S, shoot to survive, trying to make that push towards them. One of their players does end up getting knocked. Gustasi getting knocked us for even more trouble with the Molotovs coming down, stopping any kind of push that they have there. There you go. Being able to take care of him there on the 2nd floor. But 2 of their players are truly knocked. Only Vitin is still alive. And it's going to be hard for him. Now he's going to decide to back off for that. I think he knows. I think maybe he heard the C4 there from the team below trying to make that push because he connect with this grenade. He's not going to be able to.
Yeah, this is the question mark, right? Do you go for the revive? We saw Remix. It worked out for him last match. But for Loops, is it going to be the play you want to make? We see 0 not even going to drop, actually. Loops. With murder, looks like a third-party opportunity, actually going to take care of the shoot to survive player Bob down on the 1st floor. And I'm interested in knowing later on if Lutz is able to potentially even get that reset going. But 9Z, they're sending it through, and the knock, the rain down with the
there's a lot of open space in front. Really, the only thing that you have is the natural terrain to kind of stay behind for Loops. Still
alive, man.
I guess have a little bit of the high ground, but neither team, 7, wants.
That's right, and I think this team, United for Gaming, remembers that there's still 1 player alive. They don't know exactly which team is going to be, but Milos is still alive for 9C Globan, so he could end up being a bit of a thorn here on their path as they're trying to inch their way up closer and closer. But Loops Esports, they were able to pick up those last 2 players that were knocked back up to 3. Not a full reset, but at least 3 players. You got something to work with. I don't know what 9C, as we're kind of slowing down here, I don't know what 9C Globan was thinking there on that row 19 push. Maybe they thought it was going to be smart. They ended up losing too many players there, and none other than this team was able to take full advantage of it with United for Gaming. But a bit of a stalemate here, and it's going to, I feel like it's going to continue to be like this until we see a knock or Loops just fully sense it and be as aggressive. Okay.
I don't
They
think they're
didn't want
doing
to full
that.
send.
You're getting a
Okay.
little too over-eager there, 7, okay? I don't think they're going to be full sending just yet, but I think the big thing is going to be if Piscu can maybe find Milos off there on that far eastern side. Can they get that snake dealt with? Because right now, United for Gaming, Taylor, you were talking about it. This is completely open hillside, and it's not a good hill to play. It's too flat, it's too open. There's not enough cover for you to be standing out in the open. If you can find Milos, really see that pop up in the elimination feed, you're able to start really working the zone. But it's stage 9 now, Taylor. These players got to start working towards the center, and I believe Mystic, he's holding that front runner spot, but 2 players in the vehicle is getting a little too antsy for me.
Oh, look at this guy. Bettini. He's pushing up. Stake in the grass. And if I'm United for Gaming, I want to try to get eyes on him if possible, because he could be the thorn in the side of my roster, obviously speaking in regards to United for Gaming. It's still a toss-up, quite honestly. I know United for Gaming has the advantage. Well, I say that not anymore. Quickly taken away. And it is going to be Rafina taking down Hate, and it will be a 3v2 now as Loops looks to take this final fight by storm. They do so, and they will be successful. Loops will take a big victory. 9 eliminations, their first win of the spring season here in 2025. But shout out to United for Gaming, making a big appearance, their best placing yet. 5 eliminations and 9Z as well, staying alive. Milos being the hero in that situation. The celebrations are in. Loop still very focused, but a talented roster with a talented performance. 9 Elim, 7. They set themselves up nicely. We highlighted them very early on. They were set up within zone. Really, honestly, they never left the zone as far as I'm concerned. I think they had to break in maybe once, but Loops has been known for their positioning. They've got a bit more aggressive over the last 3 games this spring season, but they had the best of both worlds, and that resulted in the win.
Yeah, Loops didn't really have much to do with, and whenever the opportunity was there for them, they kind of took it. Remember what happened earlier on with X-Force and Inco Gaming. They saw an opportunity there. They made sure that they third-party it, cleared that squad. Then they decided to go up into 9Z, threw some nades, nothing happened. They decided to back off and instead go towards the Wizard Tower and ends up eliminating those players that I can't remember at the top of my head which team it was, but they ended up winning that engagement. And ultimately here, they're making it look so easy. 3 versus 4.
Yeah, that Wizard Tower fight nearly did them in, but they made it out. They had to get a couple of revives, but hey, they handled their business, and they ultimately get the win. And this Eco Gaming fight was nutty. It was Vios Gaming once again making an appearance. Nunez nearly clutching a 1v4, but he fell short in the end. But I'll continue to say it. Vios Gaming, when they get on screen, it's always excited to watch their perspective, Enigma.
Yeah, but this is the play I was talking about. Pedrino, 1v4 on the pull-up with the 2-seater. His teammate, yeah, he was able to get some shots going, maybe some third-party action as well from afar, but really it was just an all sort of him moment with the DBS. That sort of southern rotation as well. We were able to see as well how Coops was able to get 1 or 2 of his eliminations, but this whole western side was where the bloodbath was. Loops Esports being able to clean up what my mind is really that sort of mistake of X-Force and Inco Gaming fight, allowing these other teams to work in for free. And this was the scary part you guys were literally just talking about. This sniper tower seemed to be going on for a minute straight of the fights, and everything after that, I mean, it was just icing on the cake for the chaos.
Love Milos just rolling in with the car, getting a couple of rollovers, and ended up working out for the best, and he really did fight hard in that top 3 position, but as a solo, you can only do so much. And for Loops, they commanded that final fight that resulted in a tremendous win. 9 eliminations and a ton of damage, like I said, across the board. Very, very well done. It's nice to see them in the victory circle finally. The first time that they'll place within top 3. And a potential chance to obviously elevate themselves up the leaderboard. That's the goal outside of obviously getting better and better each and every time you can. Vitten as well as Rafina will be the top elimination leader with 4 apiece. They will get the bulk of the 9 that we ended up seeing, but make no mistake about it, everybody did their job. So Loops, let's see how far they can jump up after our match standings. 19 points, that's nothing to scoff at there, 7.
Yeah, it's definitely nothing to be mad at. 19 points total there. United for Gaming, you were mentioning too, now being able to at least secure some more points towards your tally. 19 Globen out. Even though you get 11 points, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to this. I was expecting a lot more with what you guys had to offer there. We'll get a chance to talk that about a little bit later.
Keep it
and
real.
Then Alpha 7 Esports, I mean, for this team, even with everything that they had to work with there throughout that zone, they still are able to clutch up 11 points.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. I mean, they saw a ton of the map, a lot of real estate they had to cover, and it resulted in 11 eliminations. And man, if they would have made top 3 with how hard they had to fight through the zones, I should say, that would have been just nutty. Just nutty. We look at the second page. X-Force slows down a bit. They're finished off earlier than they wanted. Eco Gaming as well. They get into a bit of an aggressive fight very early on. Granted, they had a decent showing with 6 eliminations. I will give them credit where credit is due. Team Liquid, 5 elims. And one thing about them, that fight against AGG, man, hats off to them. The way they recovered and they also backed away from the Wolves gives me great hope Team Liquid might be on the up and up despite them being in 11th place currently. But Alpha 7 there in the first place still with 44 points. But look at this. Enigma Loops has jumped way up alongside that of 9Z. But the biggest storyline, Loops looking to challenge Alpha 7 by the end of today.
Yeah, the big thing for Loops is you're making note of it. Those first 2 games we watched, the first Sandhawk and then that first Erangel match, they were getting eliminations. It wasn't like they were going out with 2 or 3 points. They were getting 5, 6, 7 eliminations. 1 or 2 placement points here and there. Now we see it where if they make it into that late game, they can start putting up the big boy numbers, the Alpha 7 numbers. Obviously, Alpha 7, they had those 11 points last match. Those 10 eliminations really were doing wonders, but we're wanting to see that from a lot of different squads, right? I know we've only watched 3 games, but this right side of the screen, I'm looking at Wolves, Team Liquid. Heck, we can even throw All Glory Gaming in that discussion. These are names that we've heard about, or at least have expectations for 7 underperforming in these first 3 matches today.
That's right, and I think it comes down to kind of how top-heavy it has been throughout these matches as well with the Brazilian teams. I mean,
underperforming in these.
X-Force is in the lead for NA.
Without a doubt, and I hope that Team Liquid does join the top 5 shortly, but they're only at 10 points. They've got a long way to go. Luckily, they got 3 games still left today, which means 3 opportunities to catapult themselves up to top 3, and we know it's well within their wheelhouse. It is. Just got to get out of their heads. I don't know what's happening with them. I hope we get an interview with them shortly, but Team Liquid, they're going to be on the up and up, hopefully. But Loops, looking to challenge Alpha 7 in first place. They've got 3 games to get the job done, and we've got 1 more Erangel to go. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, map 4 coming your way. Two games today, but I'm sure it's coming. Some teams are feeling more and more confident as the day goes along. I'm Taylor Reflections, Noble, of course, joined by 7 and Enigma. Erangel once again, 3 times in a row, and similar play styles. A couple of teams changing things up, like, for example, Team Liquid. They have a drop in mainland. They like to go military. Some other rosters like to change it up a little bit. They at least have 2 different locations, Plan A and Plan B. But for the most part, though, 7, we haven't seen any big engagements off the rip. Nobody getting spicy. Are we breaking the mold in Game 4 and maybe seeing an early initial fight?
I don't think it's going to happen, but if we are going to break the mold, something I want to see it break is Brazil winning every single match so far today. I need something for my copium, okay? NA teams, I'm talking to you. I need you guys to maybe it's time that we end up getting a win. Could it be X-Force? I don't know. Could it be Wolves? I don't know. We'll have to wait and find out, because Brazil right now, I mean, they just keep doing the right plays over and over again.
Yeah, well, no surprise, right? Brazil's the best region. North America is still on the come up, but let's face it, North America has played a little bit better, but Enigma, they're they're far behind. At least Brazil at this point. But hey, it's still early goings. We've got 3 more maps to go, and Erangel, once again, will be right before us. And I hope we do see another top 3. I just want to verify. So, yeah, I mean, we haven't had a team finish top 3 on Erangel in back-to-back maps. Yeah, just to make sure. It's been 2 or 3 different teams in map 2 and map 3, which is pretty special and polar opposite of what we saw from Alpha 7 Enigma early on, right? When they get a winner chicken dinner on Sandhog, they go into map 2, they get a 3rd place finish, but they're still remaining consistent. The question is, though, Enigma, do you think Loops, it would be a major surprise if they pass up Alpha 7? Obviously, they've had history and success in the past, but did you expect Alpha 7 potentially to fall down to 2nd or 3rd place this early on? I did. It doesn't mean they're a bad roster, but Loops is truly looking great.
I think it's just so early on in the tournament and stuff like that, especially phase 1, everyone testing out the waters, that, we could expect maybe Alpha 7 to be dropping a little bit. Now, with the lead they had, it was a matter of if one of those squads like Loops were able to get a win under the belt after having decent eliminations in those first few starting matches. That's why we're seeing that point total kind of start really getting close together. And the interesting thing about it, guys, we can't forget, over these 3 days, when it's all said and done, doesn't matter if you're 50 points ahead or 1 point ahead. Whoever's in that first place spot will get those advancement points for finals. Then we repeat it again in that phase 2. So these teams really got to recognize that every placement matters if you're wanting to get that head start going into finals. And you honestly got to be thinking about it now versus later.
Well, even from Loops, right, who's had great success. I mean, 9Z, 7, you shouted them out in the beginning of the show. What was it about 9Z that caught your eye? Because clearly you were right? I mean, look, they're in 3rd place, 25 points. The gap isn't as big, though, from 3rd on down, even to 8th place. But they're still in the running, top 3, and top 3 is where you want to be for EWC.
For sure. The thing for me, especially that last match, is for the longest time, I even kept saying, okay, 9C, you got center circle, you're currently set up perfectly fine. There's no reason for you to push. Move forward. 9C, still center circle. You're fine. 9C, you're in the circle. You're not even center circle anymore. You're in the circle still. You don't have to push out. And for some reason, this team, even though it would have been a great play if they did end up eliminating row 19, it absolutely backfired because 9C was still within that circle. They still had some buildings to work with. I think they saw row 19 push up a little bit closer to them. They didn't like it, and it kind of forced them to push out. It ends up backfiring. They do end up winning at least some elimination points here and there. But ultimately, that push, they didn't have to do that. They could have just been being patient. And it could have been just them being patient for so long in the game that they got antsy there towards the end that they just wanted to get into a fight.
True, and I think I respect that. Teams, if they want to get in a fight and then they actually take it by storm and they're successful, you love to see that. And from 9Z's perspective, a top 3 finish is great. And shout out to Milo staying alive as long as he did in the end game and making it spicy, making it competitive for the 9Z roster. You shouted them out. You were right to do so. They're an exciting team. I can't wait to see how the next 3 maps go for them. But then on the opposite side, we shout out Team Liquid quite a bit, Enigma. And once again, I want to go to that fight against AGG. They try to go across the right bridge. Wolves pushes them back. And instead of Team Liquid forcing their hand and still sending it into Wolves, which we've seen that push on bridge take place so many times, it never works out. Team Liquid backs up. They then find themselves going against AGG. A couple of players are dropped. They need to get revived, but Team Liquid finds success. That fight was pivotal in showing me that Team Liquid still has the chops to be that veteran roster, to be that great partner team that can finish up in the top echelon.
Yeah, and I mean, they've won Americas before. It's not like it was just Alpha 7 last year. They're a squad that we expect big things from, but the main key component that I was eyeing as soon as AGG started pulling up was going to be Mythic. He was alone at the compound. He was the one that had that pressure on him immediately. He had essentially a 30-second window where his teammates are essentially saying, you need to survive until we drive up and into you. Fortunately for them, they were able to get a knock onto one of the AGG players as soon as the rest of the Team Liquid squad was driving up. And after that, it's that straight 3v4, 4v4 fight. Everyone that's practiced in those WoW rooms and previous tournaments, that's where they experience that practice that comes into play. So Team Liquid showing, of course, why they're one of our more dominant squads, with it being the first sort of engagement in that match. It's not like it had too much pivotal I guess you could say, impact on their positioning and stuff like that. But nonetheless, 4 eliminations are still 4 points. And for Team Liquid, especially right now, you're wanting every point you can get.
Oh, without a doubt, right? Team Liquid has a long come up. They're only at 10 points. They need to at least get to 25 just to catch up to 9Z to break into top 3. The good news is this is at least the format that's broken up into 2 phases for this league play, but $60,000 for league play. It's still a significant sum of money, and you want to try and get as much as possible. Gives you a little added confidence, a little extra spending money heading into the grand finals, which will be taking place later on. And for you out there in the chat, have you been surprised by the results today? I don't think for a lot of you, you're not going to be saying, well, Alpha 7 in first place. That's a surprise. Of course, we're expecting that. But, I mean, for Loops, for 9Z, are we happy with that result? They're clearly staying up there in the upper echelon, and they're looking great. We highlighted them, and for good reason. Hey, they're looking great. Hey, but for you out there in the chat, is there I don't know, can we give away something to chat now potentially? Like, is there something that they could be earning? Okay, we can't do it yet. That's okay. Look, pay attention. Oh, hey, we can. There's the Amazon gift card. Go ahead and claim it out there, baby. Normally we do it during the fly-through. We wanted to do it a little bit early this time. Keep it competitive and have you a chance to stay entertained, right, during our long fill segments before we head in to game number 4. And if you've, I forget his name, Enigma. Do you remember his name?
Of course I do. It was HH. He'd gotten like 4 out of 5 or something. He was saying, I'm going to get everyone on the cast of Rice Cooker with how many of those Amazon codes he was getting. But this time around, we figured it out. We got to switch up the timings, right? Can't be always that fly through. Maybe we can't do it, mid-fight. That's a little bit too pressuring, for people to be entering when we're trying to watch the game. But obviously here, you got to keep them on their toes, Taylor. You can't always let them get the codes for free.
Yo, honestly, there is somebody out there, though, that has got the past 3 and is just fuming that we switched it up. It's like, oh, no. But, hey, got to pay attention. You never know when it's going to come at you. And we keep it competitive out there in the chat. Let us know if you've been able to not only claim the code, but what are you looking to get with your newly founded money from your Amazon gift card. Speaking of which, Seven, what would you be buying if you got the money from the gift cards?
Some pellets for my Traeger. Smoke some meat.
Okay. Oh. I didn't know where you were going. Okay,
wow. Yeah, I had to explain there, boys. I've been on a thing, or I've been smoking meats for the whole break here.
Okay,
so
hey.
I've been enjoying trying out different stuff.
What's the meat of choice?
Right now, picanha.
But what is picanha? Am I dumb?
Yes.
What is picanha?
I don't know how to explain it.
Honest to God, I've never heard of picanha.
It's so good.
Yo,
bro.
I gotta
smoked. I smoked. Here, let me tell you real quick. As we're about to jump into the last here and go. You smoke it for 2.5 hours, and then you sear that baby. Oh my goodness, it's so good.
Bro, I thought you were gonna say brisket or ribs. You said picanha. I'm like, well, you're just in a different echelon, bro. You're cultured, man. And me, I'm uncultured swine over here, bro. I'm gonna look it up, picanha. I'll take your word for it. Hey, I've been wanting me a smoker. I'm not gonna lie. Chat, anybody out there smoking enthusiast, smoking the meats? Let us know. Seven could have a conversation with you. Hey, we're hopping into map 4. This is the final Erangel of the day before we hop into, I should say, back-to-back Miramars for map 5 and map 6. The previous winners on the 2 Erangels we've witnessed Influence, Rage, and Loops. Can either of them go back-to-back, potentially just get 2 Erangels for the day? Well, of course, it's the players who are the ones who can control their destiny. We'll see what they can do. Nigma, where are we going?
We're going to the same spots, Taylor. Okay, we've seen the same Erangels back to back. A lot of the teams aren't switching up their drops too much. Maybe they're getting rotations somewhat close together, but if we're wanting a different team, a different region, I guess you could say, instead of Brazil winning all the matches, let's just make it a milli zone. Let's just send it all the way down, make it to where they have to either take the botation or the bridge, make it complete chaos. Because it looks like with our NA squads, luckily we do have some water in play for it to potentially be a factor, but a lot of our NA squads, they're decent under the pressure until it gets to that late game, and then we just fall apart. If we could just have the chaos from the get-go and have everyone struggling to make it into that first circle, then we could start seeing maybe Latam or NA start showing up in that sort of first place position. But right now, we're seeing it, it's centered on that Pachinki spot again, a little bit more south than that first Erangel game, right? These teams still taking those same drop spots. We could just have the chaos from the get-go.
Lands here. And they rotated all the way over here before 9Z, who lands here, could get there. Hold on. Where is it at?
Throughout Titan series, let's have it once again. Map 6 is where we finish.
Get taken by differently, and we're going to be seeing it now. That first circle, but Pachinki is horrible differently, and we're going to be seeing it.
I mean, still 9Z should have gotten there before 87.
Now that first circle shift is going to be centered on side of the POI. You need to make sure that.
And that was a shock to us. We weren't expecting that. Alpha 7 getting pushed off their landing spot. It was unheard of. But it happened. This time around, no one has been strong enough to dethrone them for first place, but more importantly, force them to change up their strategy. And it goes back to what Seven was saying. That 2-2 split, like they're disrespecting the lobbies at times and pushing fights and winning fights. Quite honestly, any other team wouldn't win. So that's just Alpha 7 for you. But for other rosters, yeah, change things up. But today, I think just go to your bread and butter, continue to see if it works. It does it. Day 2, always a chance to change things up, Seven.
Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting to see how some of these teams are going to be able to readjust tomorrow when we come in, right? They're going to be able to see, okay, Alpha 7, first circle, they always tend to push towards the middle of the zone if favorable. So that's something that some of the other teams that are going to be able to adjust. Remember, I think it was the first Erangel where we saw Alpha 7 push towards the center of the circle, and it was only just one player of 9C that just got caught off guard, not expecting anybody to make that push. But those are little things here and there that, with at least with time, right, within the first stage that we're going to be playing here, maybe some of the other teams will be able to catch on those little patterns from some teams that they're going to be doing, whether it's rotations, whether it's going to be pushes, whatever the case might be. We'll see how they're going to be adjusting. One team that's currently trying to adjust is All Glory Gaming, because with this circle, okay, I'm liking this circle, boys. I know we got a chance to see it earlier on, but right now we're not having an insane amount of water, and we do have military and the main island at play as well.
You know what the switch up needs to be? You're talking about this Millie Island and all this stuff. We need it like NA from Titan series. We bring in everyone into a hovercraft, and no one's able to shoot you out of it. You start running people over. You remember that, Taylor? X-Force won a match. It had to have been, what, 10 eliminations off hovercrafts alone. And then slaughtering Wolves late game in a 4v4. It was Cinema 7. You have to go back and watch it, because I was expecting our NA boys to honestly stick with that strategy. They were making the hovercraft look like the BDRM from the flare drop in game. If you ever played the pubs and you shoot the flare out of the zone, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And that's the vehicle where you can go across the land and water. You don't have to struggle one bit. And with it being, if it gets blown up, that's a whole wall in front of you to block you from shots. So I'm really hoping, to be honest, that we see more hovercraft plays.
Me too.
Sorry, I cut you guys off, because AGG, with one of their players was in it. I think that's what we're needing. NA on top with the hovercraft.
Did you see any of that? I don't know if you did, man.
Yes.
But did you, dude? The hovercraft was just nutty during the Titans series. Like, that was the craziest things I've ever seen, to the point where literally during, I think, the rest of the Titan series that we watched, hovercrafts were always in the narrative and always being used on the North American side.
Yeah, so I didn't see that one exactly, the one that you guys are talking about, but especially for last PMGC, I did see some teams that Maxman and I were kind of just pointing out, were saying, okay, that team, it was in a specific team. I can't think of my mind right now, but they would use at least 2 hovercrafts, and when we would get towards the later stages of the circle, they wouldn't mind blowing it up and just using it as cover, because you don't resource for them just to cover themselves, and then they would end up positioning in an L shape as well. So if some of these teams can start doing this year, it would be interesting to see if people are going to be able to pick up on it.
Yeah, it was crazy to say the least.
In Silo, by the way. In Silo for PMGC.
In Silo? Okay.
Yep.
Dude, I want to see more of it, because I think it's super valid. And I will say it's super smart to destroy it and use it as cover. We didn't see that utilized at all. It was more so just about running over people, staying alive as long as possible. But blowing it up, using it for cover is super intelligent. Very high-level play, and to be expected from the players at this caliber. Hovercrafts, they're great when you can get them, and they're devastating on military islands with those open spaces and hilltops. That's where they were utilized the best from the North American side. But stage 1 closing in just a minute. Team Liquid has transitioned from military. They separate themselves from AGG. They will be relatively close to 9Z, but nothing's taken place there just yet. Influence Rage is moving in onto loops. You also have Ro, who's going to be there, and then S2S, who's going to be just up ahead of them. So near Pochiki is getting pretty active. Several teams next to each other, still enough distance where things aren't going to be exploding just yet. But I am highly expecting things to get a bit spicy. Next to Influence Rage, Ro, Loops, potentially X-Force. There's some activity developing.
Yeah, I believe that's going to be one of the Intense Gaming players getting knocked. Some of these squads, Intense Game being one of them, Wolves Esports, even VG holding some sort of spread across the map. They're one of those teams that was able to get in early on the stage 1 circle shift. But if you're Intense Game, if you're not prepared for a 4-man sending you're going to lose a player early on, and that would be United for Gaming picking up that early freebie elimination up. I believe it was on Potato Hill. They're up on that northeastern side. But, oh, man, the circle shift all the way back down southwest. 9Z Globen loving themselves right now. They've essentially been 2 for 2 at this compound here, 7. Taking the same spot, not switching it up, getting rewarded both times. You love to see it.
Now for Team Liquid, I'm gonna have to do and see something out of this. As Influence Rage says, you know what, we're just gonna make a full push here towards 9C Globen and try to catch him off guard like Alpha 7 was able to catch him earlier. There's only gonna be one player right there close by. Lorison having to slow down his roll though, as that Molotov is close by. Now everybody else from 9C is gonna start pushing up. They know currently where everybody else is at. Reyes trying to stay alive. Diego is gonna go down. Can Influence Rage pick him up? As Reyes trying to make the push there. Law is going to connect with that grenade and eliminate him.
All right, Influence Rage looking good, trying to stay up as long as they can. Fighting a good fight, and they need to at least finish this very quickly because everybody is moving in. Wancho is going to scout out the area. He might call Wolves, go in for the third party. You got another roster, United for Gaming, who's also moving into this territory, but all eyes on Milos. Milos had some great plays just previously, managed to secure a third place for 9Z on Erangel. Map number 3, he's trying to secure the off angle. Kogoat Remix on the outside looking in. Influence Rage have total control of the shed just up ahead. They've got the cars used for cover. Obviously, they're going to be just behind the boxes. Kogoat throws a miracle nade. He'll connect onto Lawrenson for a little bit of damage, but not enough to drop him. And through the smoke, does Lawrenson go for a bit of a flank around the shed? I don't know if that's going to be the smartest play, but no, he holds what he's got. He will be on the outside. Potentially could take Milos off guard, but this is going to stalemate a little bit longer. Neither team wants to fully commit, and for Influence Rage or 9C, why give up your hardcover POI? There's no reason.
Yeah, but unfortunately, they both lost a player early on. I thought it was going to be just Influence Rage getting full wiped, but then I believe Reyes from 9Z just crumbling under the pressure, trying to make that cross, immediately getting fragged out. And unfortunately, that was right at the time where Remix got a beautiful off-angle knock onto Influence Rage, so just really unfortunate stuff. Both squads wasting virtually all of their utility across that warehouse, even just pushing up, trying to find the angles, realizing, hey guys, it's stage 2. We need to relax. We're fine sharing the compound. This is going to be that dead center spot. And you were thinking it was going to be Juancho Taylor pulling up maybe for that third-party action. It's going to actually be United for Gaming coming in with X-Force farther down on that western side. But a lot of these teams, it's kind of a repeat of last game. They're opting not to play anywhere near the fields. The edge is where the congestion is happening. And now we're starting to see the shots rain down, because if the whole center of the zone is open, if you're not able to play it, that means the edge is going to be a fight for spots.
Team Liquid against Savage. Mythic's managed to drop one. Mythic a little bit low in health, but here comes the Cavalry. They're moving in to finish off this Savage roster, and they will do so. Well done. I would have been very heartbroken if Team Liquid loses that fight this early on, as they have done in the previous maps, but this time around, all guns blazing, and they maintain their position. Wolves will move in. Chief needs to potentially join them. He'll call out that Wolves is going to be just up ahead of them, but they haven't crashed into the building just yet, so for the meantime, Team Liquid can recover and heal up. Influence Rage 9Z still at a bit of a standstill. That's going to be exploding relatively soon. But again, no reason to push out of the shed if you're Influence Rage. No reason for 9C Globin to pull out. But hold up, we've got a bit of a run over as the team has moved it onto Loops. And Loops might be in a bit of trouble here, and they will be. And of course, it's going to be Vias Gaming. Every time we switch over to Vias Gaming, it's pure chaos, and they're typically the team instituting that Chaos 7.
The team that you've been talking about, and the team that currently has a hovercraft as well. Vias Gaming taking care there of Loops. So if we were wondering if Loops was going to be able to pass Alpha 7 after this match, they're going to have to wait a little bit longer and see what happens when we end up going to Miramar. Influence Rage, though, meanwhile, they have made a bit of a peace treaty here between themselves and 9C. They're keeping an eye on everybody else. By the way, I do enjoy that Team Liquid was able to take care of that squad earlier on in Gas Station, but now 9C is starting to make the push. Meanwhile, as well, Inco Gaming versus Roll starting to fight each other. Roll coming out on top here, and they have able to spot Brunosen. Can they be able to connect with them? Brunosen currently waiting patiently. Is the last player alive? He is going to get spotted. Can he connect with the grenade, or is it going to be Row 19 connecting with the grenade first? And there you go. Inco Gaming eliminated by Row 19, and Row 19 still having all their 4 players alive.
Yeah, not even one of them being knocked. It looked like maybe Inco Gaming full sent to the center of the compound, having them just get shot in the back by that solo player holding forward from Royals of War. And it's a big interaction there because this is the compound on that far northern side of the circle. It's able to get you that rotation to the mountaintop to start scoping out the field, because at some point, if this circle keeps centering up, you're going to have to start playing in the open. Those hay bales, that Alpha 7 strat that we saw in that first Erangel match, you got to put it to the test yourself. And fortunately for Royals of War, with them not getting knocked, they're able to start scouting forward a bit more in their eyes. But unfortunately, Intense Game, they're ahead of them. They're getting just in front of them to get those rotations early on. And with there being only 15 seconds left on the circle pop, a lot of these teams, I feel, are going to be struggling to find their next spot in the zone.
I'm super curious if Chief and Cardozo from Team Liquid are going to gatekeep AGG, who is now fighting against Papa Blue, but going across the left side bridge. Chief already cooking a nade. He throws it out. Doesn't connect onto anything, but that's okay. AGG stays alive. And, well, really, for the remaining players in the vehicles, have to make a decision. Do we crash in and stay together, or do we split? Well, no, they're going to stay together, and Cardozo is just off in Narnia by himself, but luckily Ayula, Mythic are going to be moving in alongside that of Chief. So yeah, this is going to be a 4v4 fight on the left side bridge, and Mythic is down because Wolves are going in for the third party.
And that allowed Team Liquid was about to start rotating, and for those 2 players still being there so close to the bridge, it forced the other 2 players to kind of slow down and back up a little bit. Now Chief is going to try to fend off here the push from AGG, and as you were mentioning, Wolves was close by Gas Station as well, trying to make a push towards them too, but AGG is going to start just raining down grenades, seeing if they can connect with anything here, or if Chief can maybe connect with one, as he's going to be able to. There goes one knock. Who's still alive from his team is going to be Ayala and Cardozo. Can they possibly get an angle, or can he maybe connect with another grenade here and secure the elimination? It's not going to end up happening, but all this utility use, he could end up backfiring for this teammate and for this squad later into the match, as AGG is just looking to get these angles and moving around. Chief, meanwhile, throwing nades as many as he can, and he's currently sitting out at 0 as his squad is just starting to back up, and AGG is just wrapping around him.
They have to. They've got to get out of there. But how do you get through Wolves? Coops, you noticed, or at least I noticed, he was hanging around on the left-hand side of this fight between Chief and AGG, scouting the horizons. Ayala has gone fully north to separate himself and potentially play as a solo. Cardozo is also by himself. Chief is still in the building in Papa Blue, and AGG has disengaged. No matter which way you look at it, Wolves is definitely the strongest team leaving this engagement. AGG, they're going to be very healthy, but Team Liquid are very split, Enigma.
Yeah, this is kind of a rare instance where you've seen Team Liquid not as a squad in rotation. I think it was an all-save-yourself kind of scenario. We're talking you're not even getting a placement point if you get a...
He could end up... Team Liquid was about to start rotating, try to...
Chief already cooking a nade. I'm super curious if Chief and Cardozo from Team Liquid are going to gatekeep AGG, who is now fighting against Papa Blue, but going across the left side bridge. Chief already cooking a nade. He throws it out. Doesn't connect.
AGG as well. Both those squads of mine, I thought were just going to be eliminated by the Wolves format.
Well, X-Force took down a couple from AGG, so they're in shambles too. It seems like everybody in that fight on the left side bridge, minus Wolves, but they were a bit disengaged. They were just trying to third-party any easy elims they could, and they did. But for AGG Team Liquid, they almost cannibalize each other, and on their rotation out, they get picked apart by one roster or another. And for AGG, they might be done and dusted depending on how this fight against X-Force ends up unfolding. Team Liquid miraculously stays alive. Wolves have moved in onto 9C. Wolves will lose a couple of players, but ultimately find success. 9C in a fight against Influence Rage for the longest time in that shed. Finally, it unfolds. They will lose their lives, and Wolves will continue their depending on how this fight against X-Force. But ultimately, depending on how this fight against X-Force ends up unfolding. Team Liquid miraculously stays alive. Wolves have moved in onto 9C. Blue 7 are falling like flies.
Wonder if he might be able to put him in the vehicle and then try to get out of there. And that's exactly what they're going to try to do here. Actually, he might be a little bit too far away. Yeah, that's going to be too far away. If he would have maybe stayed by the vehicle, it would have worked out. But this might be a bit of a push there for Export. I do got to give him props, though. They didn't end up... Oh, no, Fate. Don't do this. Okay, I thought it was going to be a bit of a miscalculation there, trying to pick him up. Didn't end up working. I thought he was going to end up getting knocked as well. But as I was going to say, for X-Force, it is a bit of a learning situation here. In the last match, we saw them get absolutely crashed down from behind by Inco Gaming, I believe it was. On this one, they kind of learned their lessons to keep eyes everywhere, to keep that awareness up. And they didn't allow any of those teams to crash. And meanwhile, Alpha 7, even though they currently have 0 eliminations, they are currently within a building and playing that edge that we're known for. And Wolves, I got to give them props, Enigma. Wolves played that out so well earlier. I really enjoyed that they decided to continue making the push there on Team Liquid, hunting them down.
Yeah, they took on that 1 or 2 players from Team Liquid. They turned their sights to the compound that 9Z was residing, which, by the way, they actually were the squad that I believe eliminated Influence Rage earlier on. So that 3v3 fight did commence. Was just straight up fighting for Wolves. And for Wolves, it's good signs. They still have 4 players up, I believe. They've got a few eliminations under their belt. Actually, make it 3 now on this land. But having 4 elims, you've got a spot in zone. If you're able to at least weather the storm, I guess you could say, in this next circle shift, should be able to get yourself into a prime real estate spot. But the more I'm seeing this from the free cam, I'm kind of stressing a bit. No vehicles, it seems, almost, or at least nothing that's going to be useful after this next rotation. And you having to stress, I mean, look at this. Coops not even having armor or helmet really to his name, but we're going to have to switch it up, 7. Shoot to survive, just taking the full brunt of X-Force. Valak trying to be the last one alive, but Bob finds him in the grass, finding the snake, and unfortunately for them now, having to deal with the third party.
Third party there by VIP, by the way, in regards to Wolves, with how much utility they're using here, I'm hoping they're going to do something about it because they are still outside of this circle. So I know you got those buggies, I know you got those vehicles. Yeah, you might end up... Oh, okay, you're going to go for the fix. That's smart. I like that. I really like that there from Juancho. Use that utility that you've been working with, all those smokes, and try to find a way within that circle as they're still trying to get the fight there with row 19. Meanwhile, VIP Esports, we saw them earlier trying to get into a fight, into a third-party situation, but now having to slow it down as Alpha 7 is close by.
Yeah.
So many opportunities here for crashes just from a lot of teams. Reflections.
I appreciate that VIP didn't fire at Alpha 7 because they get an engagement early on with Alpha 7. Then they have to worry about shoot to survive. Just not a good spot to be in. They could get pincered very quickly. So instead, VIP decides to be a little bit quiet. They do get active, but they're focusing on the right team. I think focusing on shoot to survive here not only is theoretically a little bit easier than Alpha 7, but you're also taking the players out from behind you, and then you can just simply focus on Alpha 7 up ahead. But shoot to survive, they'll give VIP a chance. They're taking the bull by the horns and pushing for themselves. Frady will fall, but so will Bob. Shoot to survive, losing 1. And I believe this is a 3v3 now. Casper cooking up a nade. Does it go through the window? That would be beautiful, and it does hit Legend. Ayuya will also fall. Legend down to a sliver of health, and shoot to survive from the outside of the house have managed to utilize their utility well enough to the point where they now feel confident to push in and finish VIP, and they're going to do exactly that. The smoke will make things a bit confusing, but Dark Light, no worries. Unconvinced, he's pushing in, but no!